And good evening and welcome to San Antonio, Texas, where we have Division III baseball on tap tonight. The 4-1 Trinity University Tigers taking on the Endicott Gulls, making their 2019 season debut. The team that was 27-17, coming from just north of Boston, Massachusetts, all the way down to Texas, enjoying the warm weather. We'll see how they fare tonight. And for Trinity, it'll be Mark Tyndall on the mound. We'll get you caught up. The national anthem just concluded. I'm here with Chris Garagiola and Ryan Figert later in the evening. And Chris, your thoughts here early on the match?
Well, we've talked about it, I think, a number of times for a number of years about Trinity, that usually the beginning of their schedule is more top-heavy, and for a perennially nationally ranked team like the Tigers are, one that wants to obviously get back to the College World Series, it's what they do against schools like Endicott, teams that are always knocking on the door of regional bids or College World Series bids. Those are the results that just carry, I think, a little more weight when you look at their entire body of work at the end of the year. So Mark Tyndall, he was good his last time out. The Tigers, they only have one blemish so far on the season, just the one loss that was suffered last weekend. This is a great opportunity for them to make another statement to the rest of the nation.
And looking to help the Tigers make that statement, as we mentioned, Mark Tyndall on the mound, and he'll be facing off against Daniel Cacciola, and the center fielder will lead things off for the Endicott Gulls. First pitch of an evening is going to be a bunt, and that's going to go just foul. Michael Goodrich behind the dish for Trinity, picking that up as soon as it landed foul, and that'll be strike one.
Cacciola, a senior this year, gets the start at the top of the order. Pretty good speed. About a 260, 270 hitter a season ago, so just finding a way on base is going to be paramount for certainly a guy like him. Probably for someone like Mark Tyndall as well that we had talked about. Getting off to that good start and setting a tone, that can really happen in the first inning, especially for any starting pitcher for the Tigers. So it'll be interesting to see how he's able to do. And a guy who was spent a majority of his time in the bullpen season ago, now he's making his third start in as many appearances for the Tigers. And he's looking good. Oh, nearly had strike three there, but instead it's just a foul ball. And the left-handed hitting Cacciola will live to see another pitch. Ooh, check swing. Did he go? They said he did not go. No appeal coming from the catcher, Michael Goodrich, and we'll look at the Tigers defensively in a moment. First, the 1-2 now from Mark Tyndall. It's a little bit outside. You can see there, Cacciola from Saugus, Massachusetts. He's not 2 for 4, though, today. This obviously is first at bat. Getting this game started. First of a 3-game set between these two teams, and there you have it. Strike 3, Mark Tyndall just challenged him with a fastball, and, well, that's a good tone to set here for Trinity.
Number 2 slot, left fielder, number 9, Anthony Macchia.
So the rest of that lineup for the Gulls of Endicott, it's Anthony Macchia, then Brendan McDonald, Nicholas Perkins, John Duffy, Kyle Brennan, Matt Bald, and Matthew McKinley, Christian Allaire. And pitching for the Gulls, we'll see him obviously a little bit later on. It is Kevin, don't call me Robbie Gold. Check swing there once again. And again, no appeal from the Tigers, so it's 1 ball and 1 strike. This Macchia, who a season ago for the Gulls was just a freshman, didn't see a whole lot of the field. Puts one in the air to left field, but it's no problem for the left fielder of the Tigers. Nice play, and they're quickly 2 down.
Number 5, Brendan McDonald.
Jack Vonderhaar gets the start in left field today. He's joined in the outfield by Mason Meredith, and over in right field, Jake Martin. No surprise, he's started every game in right field for the Tigers up to this point. Brendan McDonald, the catcher here for the Gulls. Endicott Rocking a slick pair of stirrups to go with their green tops, and they're wearing their white pants even though they're on the road. And that's a nice play by Morrison at second. And no, they're going to call him safe. Boy, the first baseman for Trinity, John Tucker, could never find the bag. And you could see him reaching for it. Boy, that's one way to have your ankle just snapped into two if you're not careful there.
Yeah, not the best look there from John Tucker. He obviously realized it pretty quickly, but the defensive error will work against him. It looked like he just never got set with it. I think he thought he had the bag and then quickly realized he didn't.
Big swing there from Nick Perkins. One of 5 left-handed hitters in this Gulls lineup. Frustrating there for Tyndall. He thought he had a 1-2-3 inning. And there's another big rip there from the DH. Quickly 0-2. So it doesn't look like it's phased Tyndall all too much. He's ahead 0-2. And there it is. Swing and a miss. Got him to climb the ladder. And well, Mark Tyndall is certainly looking sharp as we go to the bottom of the first. No score here on the Tiger Network. Bottom of the first inning here, Trinity University Stadium. The home side about to take their swings, and very quickly their lineup looks a little something like this against Endicott. It's Logan Morrison, then Jake Martin, John Tucker, Michael Goodrich, Jack Vonderar, MJ Metz, Brennan Caraway, Jack Wisniewski, Mason Meredith, and obviously on the hill for the Tigers, we just saw Mark Tyndall have a nice top of the first inning, and so now the offense gets its first chance to try and impress. And Logan Morrison, the senior second baseman. He's going against Kevin Gould, and he lines one into left field for a base hit. Good start here for Trinity. Good, nice wide turn from Morrison. And that offense that has been so prolific year in and year out for the Tigers off to a nice start here.
Yeah, and good to see Logan Morrison finally getting hot early on in the game. He's kind of struggled a little bit to start this 2019 season. And the Tigers have done well once they've gotten a runner on. And that'll bring up Jake Martin. Martin on the season hitting very well. Started off the season hitting 5 for 10 in the opening series against Cortland. Following it up with a couple of hits. And that one should be a routine double play. And it will be 6-4-3, just beating Martin. And they're quickly 2 down here in the bottom of the first. So leadoff hit there from Logan Morrison goes for naught. And with 2 outs now, the Tigers will have to do something here with John Tucker.
Tough break for the Tigers there, but good to see hustling out of the box from Martin. It takes execution from the goal perspective, and we didn't see necessarily all that from Birmingham Southern, and in the early impression, Endicott looking up for the challenge.
Well, Tucker stands in. He's already claimed 1 Division3Baseball.com, D3Baseball.com Team of the Week honor, and he did that after racking up 7 RBI, including 5 in 1 game against Cortland in the first week of the season. Puts that one in play, but right to the third baseman. And a routine throw over to first will end the first inning. Tigers get a hit, turn a double play, and Tucker goes down quietly 5-3, and we'll be back for the second inning here in just a moment. Top of the second inning here. Still squared away at 0. Tigers do have a hit on the board. Mark Tyndall back out there for his second inning of work, and he'll take a look at John Duffy. Duffy takes for strike 1.
Yeah, Duffy, another one of these seniors we talked about from Stratford, Connecticut. He's a major in sport management and also one of the few right-handed bats that we've seen for the Gulls early on. It's been mostly dominated by left-handed hitters, and again, as mentioned, 5 out of the 9 in the starting lineup for the visitors, batting from that left side.
A little bit unusual, that ball headed into the Endicott bullpen. And it'll be 1-2 to Duffy. Endicott able to get their 2019 season started here late February. Chance to play outside as Duffy takes a swing at it, and Goodrich will come up and tag the runner, and that'll be a strikeout for Mark Tyndall. It'll be 1 down here on top of the second.
Yeah, it's interesting. You wonder a little bit about Endicott. First game of the season, obviously, for them. And when we saw the Tigers kick off their season against Cortland, obviously weather wasn't the best for either of these two teams, but we noticed that perhaps there was a little bit of rust for both sides. Defensively, they weren't necessarily at their best. That's a nice piece of hitting there for the first hit of the season for the Gulls. But you just wonder a little bit if this is something that Endicott might be at a disadvantage, not only having to travel so far to get to South Texas and
Batting
obviously
seventh,
being
third baseman
on the
Jimmy
road
Smith.
against a nationally ranked opponent, but you got some first game jitters. You got to get that game speed back. I mean, practice all you want. You and I both know it's not the same.
Yeah, not the same, but I'll tell you, they were out here earlier today around lunchtime to get in a little bit of, just get the rust off, I guess, maybe from the trip. And they were out here in shorts and loving every minute of it. That base hit was from Kyle Brennan, and that'll bring up Matt Bald, third baseman. So it's got to be a good feeling for Endicott to come out here and wear shorts during a practice outside.
Yeah, how about that? The East Coast getting pounded with snow. Obviously, a lot of winter storms, if you will, in New York and Massachusetts as well. But boy, I was seeing some snow in Las Vegas and Arizona. It seems the middle of the country, assuming that you're south of, let's call it Nebraska, all right? It's about the only spot you can get away from the snow.
Yeah, get away from the snow, but Nebraska has their own set of problems with the weather. Sindel delivers. That one hit by Bald right to Morrison. Flips over to Wisniewski, and they're not going to get Bald at first. Throw to Tucker. Not necessarily late. It was just a slow developing play. And that'll be a fielder's choice for Bald.
Batting eighth,
It'll be
shortstop number 21, Matthew McKinley.
two down here in the top of the second.
Yeah, to your point, it's one of those rare situations where not hitting it as hard it proved to be an advantage for them because that ground ball could not get to Morrison quickly enough to get the double play.
I'll bring up Matthew McKinley, the shortstop. Talk about that split, left-handed, right-handed being almost 50-50 there in the lineup. McKinley batting from the right side. It's unusual to see that in a Division III lineup. Normally, you still have quite a few righties on the team, and it feels like most teams will have maybe 3 left-handed hitters unless they are specifically trying to bat left-handed for the day. And that one's going to be lofted out into right center where it's taken by Mason Meredith, and we are through 1.5. Still 0-0. Tigers coming to the bat in just a moment.
Top of the second inning, no runs, one hit.
Bottom of the second inning, and the 4 spot due up for the Tigers, and that'll be the catcher, Michael Goodrich. Goodrich got the day off last week, has been in a little bit of a slump here to start the 2019 season. Takes that one low for ball 1. Putting that one in play. And bobbling it just for a moment was Bald. But he's able to get that one over to Brennan for the first out with relative ease.
See, for a player like Goodrich, as difficult as it may be, that ball was hit sharply, just right to the third baseman. So you got to go back to the dugout thinking that you had, by your measure, a good at bat. All you can do is try and square one up, try and find a hole there. Sure, he's only got 2 hits in his first 18 at bats and off to a slow start by his standards, but hard contact is something that should always be rewarded, even if it doesn't result in a base hit.
So bring up Jack Vonderhaar hitting .333 on the season. Vonderhaar, the team's only home run here so far in 2019. There's a big 2-run shot on the Sunday game. That one hit up the middle, but their covering is Allaire. And they're 2 down here in the second inning. Gould working quickly for Endicott. I'll bring up the freshman MJ Metz. And Metz, another one of those, off to a slow start here. Batting .067. He's 0 for 2 in his last game.
Well, he's a player that's easy to like, though, when you just watch him very briefly. He's got a strong arm over at third base, big frame as well. I think right now the college game probably a little bit faster than what he's used to in high school. Just a first year, you're trying to make an impact. And as we talked about way back in the Cortland series, when you're struggling to get hits, very quickly do you find yourself pressing in at bats, putting out additional pressure on yourself. This game's already hard enough without the players mentally attacking themselves. As a youngster, he's just got to try and relax and, again, put together quality at bats and build that confidence.
Yeah, and it's like what you were mentioning there with Goodrich. It's going to go down as another out. But if you just continue to hit the ball and hit the ball hard, eventually you're going to start to hit the ball into the gaps. And you're going to start racking up those hits. And your season's going to start to feel a lot better. The 2-1 from Gould is going to miss, and now runs count to 3-1.
There's no substitute for confidence. Regardless of what your profession is, and when you feel like you're just not on top of your game, that little bit of hesitation could be the difference between a player like Metz being able to lace a double in the gap and him being tardy on a pitch and maybe fouling it back or swinging and missing.
And you kind of see that lack of confidence there maybe in that swing. Kind of offered up at it, and then halfway through knew it wasn't going to be something he wanted to hit and just kind of just lackadaisically continued through. The full count, and he ropes that one down the line but foul. And those are the types of swings that you want to see out of Metz.
Well, and I like that right there because the pitch before that you were talking about, the half-hearted swing, it was on a breaking ball that was low in the zone. And Metz recognized that pitch. He got another breaking ball, this one more elevated, and he was made sure, maybe a little bit early, but he was not fooled by it.
And he sends the bullpen there for the Tigers scattering. That clears over the fence right there and keep it at a full count. Yeah, and obviously the coaching staff here for the Tigers definitely see something in Metz. I mean, he's a freshman starting at third base, playing the hot corner. He's only batting .167, but here in Game 6, he's right back out there in the starting lineup. That one's going to miss. No, called strike 3. It looked like that was a little bit low, but Gould will get the call, and we're headed to the top of the third here in just a moment. And welcome back. Top of the third inning. Mark Tyndall, relative ease through the first two. And he will take a good look here at Christian Allaire, the second baseman, batting from the left side. Righty Tyndall delivers. And we got a cold strike one. Allaire, the freshman, starting at second base. Tyndall will miss. Evens the count. And for Mark Tyndall, came into this game with a 6.23 ERA. He's going to look to try to lower that with two good innings here to start. Only pitched in 8 2/3 innings so far. He's given up 6 earned runs. And that was 8 2/3 coming in, so make it 10 2/3 now. The 1-2 skips away and evens the count.
You know, I think the bottom of the strike zone is going to be there for both of these pitchers. We saw the called 3 strike on MJ Metz, good breaking ball that was a little bit low, and Tyndall likes to go with that changeup to complement his fastball. If he can keep those down, he'll find some success.
Yeah, and he misses that one high for now a 3-2 count. The one thing Tyndall doesn't want to do is allow a runner on. As most pitchers, he's much more effective with nobody on the base path. That one hit back up the middle, and Allure taking a tumble there at first. Looks like he'll be okay.
Yes.
Nice job from Wisniewski, though, to play that one from the middle, throw across his body.
About 70% up the line, Allaire started to lose his balance, and at that point, it was clear he did not want to dive headfirst into the bag, but he was in no position to really step on it, kind of in that sprinting style that you do down the line. So once he hit the bag, he just decided to stop, drop, and roll.
And back to the top of the order now for Endicott. And Cacciola 0 for 1.
You know, I have to say, I know we're early into this game, and obviously we've seen the Tigers far more than we've seen of the goals, but I'm impressed with both of these teams and how they've started. And this, well, I should end the inning. And to just sort of wrap up my point, it's very clear that, it's only the second out, but both these teams came ready to play.
Yeah, I mean, so far it's been impressive here from Endicott because, I mean, it's one thing to start a season against a team that's already been playing, but it's another thing, too, you know, when we talk to the guys from Cortland, like they literally hadn't been able to practice outside very much. And I don't know the full situation with Endicott if they've been able to get outdoors very much, but when you come out and you play and you're not in the cage, you're not in the tunnel, just hitting off the machine, it's a completely different feel. I was talking to the Tigers pitching coach Dave Smith earlier today, and the question was, hey, first game of the year, do you try to take somebody with high velocity and just see if you can blow it by everybody? And he was like, well, everybody hits off the, pitching machine these days. He's like, so they can handle, low to mid 90s pretty easily. The big thing that you want to do is you might want to try to get in there with somebody with maybe a breaking ball, because they probably haven't seen a whole lot of those off the machine.
Well, and this is always the interesting debate for some of the schools in the Midwest and over in the Northeast as well, is how much of your schedule do you want to start on the road? Because you just think, it's no big deal. Why don't you just play your first 15 games on the road, come back and have a big chunk at home? But that's a lot of wear and tear on these players to go from Massachusetts to New York and then maybe go down to Connecticut. And you need to try and find that balance for these student athletes.
And just as you mentioned, that low strike zone there, and that's going to get Anthony Makia. He's now 0 for 2 on the day, and Tyndall is through 3. He's only given up 1 run and only faced 2 over the limit. We'll be back for the bottom of third here in just a moment.
It is Endicott 0 and Trinity 0.
And welcome back. Bottom of the third inning, and when we went to break, we talked about the fact that Mark Tyndall was only 2 over the limit. His counterpart, Gould, at the limit. He'll take on the 7-hole hitter, Brandon Caraway, the designated hitter today. Gould working effectively, just 16, now 17 pitches into this one so far.
Well, the early impressions from Gould, obviously a guy, good leadership, good presence on the mound, but he is every baseball fan's dream. He works quickly. I mean, that's what we've seen through the first couple of innings. He just gets on the mound, gets his sign, and a lot of ground balls as well, so a guy who utilizes the bottom of the strike zone very well. And this is exactly what I think teams need to do when they come to San Antonio to play Trinity is get off to a quick start and get a few zeros early on the board so you know, hey, we're in a game.
Yeah, and there's a good breaking ball. That one probably only went about 56 feet, but it looked good enough for Caraway to offer at it. Now 1-1. And then he comes back. Interesting call there. He flashed up 1-1, and no, there it is, 2-1. Ball missed outside.
But he's not afraid to go back to the outside, though. Missed that previous pitch by, just a couple of inches and said, all right, I can dial this one back up. Interesting to see if he goes back outside.
He does, but it's a little bit too far there.
That one I can resist as well. All right.
So the full count now for Caraway. As we mentioned, Tigers 1 hit. They've also rolled into a double play. That hit was the leadoff hit of the game. This one chopped back up the middle. And that'll be taken easily. And there's one down here in the bottom of the third.
Another ground ball, though, and that's going to be something that activates your defense, your infield. It's one thing to be behind a power pitcher that gets a lot of strikeouts, but there's nothing more frustrating than being behind a pitcher, not throwing strikes, there's not really working in a rhythm. These guys, they're excited. He's putting the ball on the ground. They want the ball. They're making good throws across the diamond, and that's what you need when you're facing such a talented team like the Tigers.
And that's 7 up and 7 down. That'll bring in the 8-hole hitter. Maybe the shortstop, Jack Wisniewski. Wisniewski on the year, 389 hitter. Starting the season off 7 for 18. Has 2 walks, also driven in 3 runs so far here on the 2019 campaign. And the 1-0, and that misses low, so now 2-0. Balls and strikes on the scoreboard there, and a little slight malfunction. We'll see if we can figure that out. The no pitch there as Wisniewski had called and was granted time.
Obviously, with this Tiger lineup today, there's a pretty sizable omission in Rafe Chomet. Is this? Oh, what a catch!
Very nicely done there by the left fielder, Makia, excuse me.
But the point I just wanted to make was it's an interesting test for the Tigers, a pretty sizable omission in Rafe Chomet. Obviously, just kind of keeping him sidelined. A minor injury doesn't become something more serious that might cost him a big chunk of his season. So, hopefully he'll feature, if not this weekend, definitely next. But, he is a guy that really drives the ship, I think, for this Tiger team in that 3 spot. And the biggest thing for the Tigers is not to panic if they don't score a boatload of runs like they're used to doing.
Yeah, one of the guys that's been helping with that run production is Mason Meredith, who steps in here in the 9 spot. He's only batting .278, but his on base is sitting at .409 on the early season. Draws quite a few walks here early on. And he scored 4 runs in the first 5 games for Trinity. He's also done a great job playing center field, giving us a few highlight catches here early on in the season. The 0-2 to Meredith, and he puts that a drive into it. Going back is McKee, and he's not going to be able to get to it. That one's going to be on the track, and a stand-up double for Mason Meredith.
That's a double for Mason
And maybe
Meredith.
that's what the Tigers need to get going. They've been good with 2 outs on the season. And now they got a 2-out double from Meredith at the bottom of the order, and that'll go back to Logan Morrison, who's already 1 for 1 on the day.
Well, credit Meredith. A phenomenal two-strike approach. You want to shorten up the swing. You're just trying to make contact and put it into play. He got a pitch in a pretty good zone to drive, and that short, quick swing was the thing, I think, that generated the power behind the ball as opposed to something a little bit long and maybe you don't get the barrel on it. So now the Tigers, like you say, a base hit should score the run, and to be able to manufacture that with 2 outs, that's a job well done, assuming they can get the job done.
Yeah, and it'll come down now for Morrison. Morrison, first pitch swing, not a bad idea, but he gets underneath it, and he's going to line that one or fly that one out to Duffy, who has to shield himself with the lights, but at relative ease, and we are out of the third. The Tigers have the advantage on hits, but we're still 0-0 on runs, and we'll be back in just a moment.
3 innings at 0-0. Catcher number 5.
And welcome back. Top of the 4th inning, and joined now by Ryan Figert, and we'll see what Endicott has here against Mark Tyndall. See if they can find a way to break him down, and they'll try with Brandon McDonald, the catcher, who's 0 for 1 on the day. First pitch misses inside, 1-0.
And it's been great to see for the Tigers. The man on the mound already with 4 strikeouts through 3.
That one called strike. You see Tyndall now 37 pitches on the day through 3 innings, 35 through 3 innings, and that's well within a comfortable zone for him to go a good distance. And that's something the Tigers really need to find out of their starting pitching, especially here on the Friday night game. If they can get Tyndall to go maybe 7 innings, it really sets them up with their bullpen the rest of the way. Tigers going with a lot of Friday, Saturday, Sunday series this season. And that one's going to be just foul. Count now 1-2.
Yeah, absolutely. This is just the 12th batter faced for Tyndall on the mound. So that's a good sign for, hopefully, some extended success here on the Friday night.
Donald reached in his first at-bat, and that was on the defensive lapse by first baseman John Tucker. And that one is going to give him a slight bruise for the morning, and he'll once again reach first base in an unconventional way.
Batting fourth, designated hitter number 33, Nicholas Perkins.
That'll bring up the cleanup hitter, Nicholas Perkins. Perkins struck out in his first at-bat, ended the first inning. Endicott's had 3 base runners. McDonald's accounted for 2 of them. First pitch misses against Perkins. Talked about it last inning. We didn't want, from a Tigers fan's perspective, you don't want Tyndall to fall behind and let a runner on. to lead off the inning. They've got a chance, if you're Endicott, to maybe break him down a little bit here in this top of the fourth. See if you can put a runner in scoring position or move him over to third base and see if you can just rattle Tyndall enough to bring home the first run and see if Trinity has any response to it or if it helps the goals maybe find a way to get into this one. And that one's fouled off, now 1-2.
Yeah, and just going based off the stats last season, Perkins hit .278, one of the RBI leaders for his team with 24.
Now, the .278 average, not really something that stands out at you, but 24 RBI in 44 games is a pretty solid approach to hitting.
Goals, of course, looking to replace their star player from last season, Michael Donato. He was an All-American for the Goals. Hit .403 and batted in 37 runs. So big shoes to fill offensively for the Goals.
Yeah, and a team that's been knocking on the door of another regional appearance the last couple of years. They were there in the early part of the teens about 5-6 years ago with back-to-back appearances. Yeah, they finished with a strong record, 27-17. Just not getting the nod. And that's going to be strike three looking on the 2-2 pitch. And so had 24 RBI a year ago, and he'll be looking for his first in his next at-bat. And with one down, they'll bring up the right fielder, John Duffy. Duffy also struck out in his first at-bat of the season.
Yeah, interesting to see there for head coach for the Goals, Brian Haley. He doesn't opt to maybe go with a hit and run or a bunt, try to move the runner in what looks like it's going to be a low-scoring affair based off the pitching we've seen so far. They now leave the runner at first with one out, leave the potential for a double play to get out of the inning.
As swing and a miss there from Duffy. Mentioned he struck out his first at bat, and now Tyndall has quickly rolled up 5 strikeouts here in 3+ innings so far. Swing, and that one fouled off towards the Trinity dugout. Of course, Tyndall averaging 9.35 Ks per 9 innings, has 9, as we mentioned, coming into this game, in 8 2/3 innings. So now 14 in 12 innings. And you mentioned the double play earlier. Tyndall will field that one, but he throws it into center field just past the reach of Wisniewski. That'll go as an error on the pitcher. And what could have been a double play situation will now leave runners at first and second for Endicott. As Endicott's manager is going to make his way out. I think he's going to want to talk about interference here on Wisniewski. Wisniewski was definitely in the line between second and third. I don't really think that the runner was attempting to run. I think that he didn't sell it enough. Perkins there at second. And I think that's going to be the quick conversation there. I think if Perkins tries and maybe falls over Wisniewski or something of that nature, you might have a chance at getting that call. But nonetheless, it'll be 2 on and 1 out. I'll bring up Kyle Brennan. He's got the only hit of the day so far for Endicott. The left-hander stands in. Had that base hit into left center back in the second inning. And I think this was the thing we were talking about earlier, too, with Tyndall. His rhythm has slowed down now with runners on, and it typically happens with all pitchers. And we've seen Gold work with quite a bit of rhythm so far today. You see Tyndall working with a lot of rhythm. Now when guys have to sit and look at runners and then come back to the plate, that's where we're going to see just how effective they can be. As misses that one now 2-0.
Yeah, absolutely. You see from our camera angle, every time he looks back, particularly right before he comes and deals to the plate. So it's certainly always weighing on his mind. The runner now in scoring position.
That one lifted out of play. It'll be 2-1. And one of the beautiful things about baseball, though, you've got a runner in scoring position for Endicott, but with one down, and even though you got 2 runners on now, Zendo only a pitch away from getting out of everything here if he can get a fortuitous double play.
Yeah, absolutely. And he'd like nothing more after throwing a potential double play ball out into center field.
It's going to be a called strike against Brennan. Now 2-2. Yeah, and you wonder how much that weighs on a pitcher too when they are the reason why the inning continues. You see guys, deal with the fact that, hey, my teammate made an error. We're just going to fight through this and work together. But when you're the pitcher and you go out there and you're the one that makes the error, it's really not a, hey, we'll pick you up, or, I'll do an extra job here with the batter that's coming up. The onus is on you all alone standing there on top of that hill. That one lifted deep down the right field line, giving chase is Martin. He's going to have plenty of room to make the play. Tagging on the throw is going to be McDonald. And now it's first and third with 2 down. And that's maybe the difference there. If you complete that play, if you're Tyndall, you're out of the inning with that fly ball. Now you still got a job to do here, first and third, now 2 down.
Yeah, and of course, runner on third base, only standing there because he was hit by a pitch. So really both of those responsibilities fall on the pitcher, but he can make amends here by retiring the batter.
Matt Bald grounded out to second base on a fielder's choice in his first at-bat. And this time he gets it past Logan Morrison at second, and that's going to be an RBI, trying to go to third, and now great running by Matt Bald to take second on the throw. So it'll be an RBI single to put Endicott on the board first, and they lead 1-0. A nice bit of hitting past the outstretched arm of Logan Morrison. And then what a heads-up base running job there from Matt Bald. I think he kind of had the play in front of him, so it was easy to make that judge. But Jake Martin coming up, throwing into third base. It was a little bit off the line, but wasn't going to reach all the way over there anyway in time to get the runner. And Duffy on third. Bald on second. McDonald is already in, so it's 1-0. And that'll bring up Matthew McKinley. He flew out to center in the second inning. Tyndall working. It's one of those strange rules of baseball where he was the one that made the error, but that run will be unearned against him. Now the 1-1. Swing and fouled back, now 1-2.
Chance here with a couple runners on for Matthew McKinley. Had 21 RBIs in the 2018 campaign. Could start out the season here with 2 if he could find a gap.
Yeah, it'd be a pretty easy job for Bald, especially with the way that he was able to take second so effortlessly to score on a base hit, unless it was an infield single of some nature. McKinley waits for the 1-2. And a good pitch there from Tyndall, and that's fouled back. Top of the fourth inning here from San Antonio. Endicott in their season opener for 2019. They're on the board first. And they're looking to pad that lead just a little bit. The 1-2 to McKinley down low. Nice job of reading it early enough, staying off of it. 2-2 for Tyndall. And talked about trying to get him deeper into the game. This pitch count starting to rise. Now sitting at 61. I believe he came into this inning at 35. The non-math major in me, now that's at 62, says that's 27 pitches just in this inning. And that's a rough inning there for number 27 on the mound.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we said, when he came into this inning, he was facing just his 12th batter. Looked in a tremendous rhythm, looked almost unhittable. And the only time that the goals were reaching base were off of a couple of errors. And there's the 6th strikeout there for Tyndall, and he will eventually retire the side, not after one run reaches. After there was a hit batter and an error, and it was an RBI single from Bald that brought him home. We'll be right back on the Tiger Network with the bottom of the 4th.
Welcome back. Bottom of the fourth inning. Low-scoring affair here in San Antonio. We've seen this before and then seen the game turn into a double-digit game for both teams. But this one sort of has a different feel, a different pace to it so far. Trying to get things started for the Tigers now will be Jake Martin. Martin grounded in a double play in his first at-bat and erased the leadoff single from Logan Morrison back in the first inning. Take strike one here to open. Gould just so effective in his first 3 innings. That one misses low. And it looks like he's got a lot of confidence up there. The ball gets thrown back to him, and he's in his set position, and he's ready to go. I think Martin taking a little bit longer, and nice little breaking ball there, and Martin takes a good swing at it, but completely whiffs. Now 1-2.
Yeah, absolutely. Looks like the Tigers just haven't quite figured him out. It was Morrison who reached on that single, but he was only on momentarily as the double play ball came soon after, as it'll be Martin to take a seat as he strikes out swinging there. And so the Tigers have really been unable to disrupt the rhythm and get runners on to see what he looks like coming from the stretch.
Well, now with one down, it'll be John Tucker. Tucker in the first inning, grounded out to the third baseman. Came into the game batting .421 and had a .542 on base percentage. First pitch. Right now, Gould is just looking like a pitching machine out there. First one just right down the middle. Be interesting to see if Trinity starts to maybe attack the first pitch, maybe come in swinging, thinking fastball, and maybe just sit fastball and see if they can drive it somewhere. That one misses. Now 1-1. Nice curveball there, and runs it in for another strike. And Tucker's behind 1-2.
It's been the breaking balls that have been particularly effective for the big number 40 on the mound. As he gets another one there, and he gets the Tigers' best hitter this season to go down swinging.
You know, the impressive thing here for Gould in this bottom of the fourth is he sat for the longest period of time that he's had to sit for today, and he comes out just absolutely on top of his game. 2 strikeouts here against Trinity's best 2 hitters. And it'll be Michael Goodrich. Goodrich in the second inning grounded out to the third baseman. You know, Goodrich led the team in home runs last season with 6. Had a really sharply hit ball in his first at bat. Takes for strike 1 there, and you know, Trinity not biting on that first pitch.
Yeah, the only time I think we've seen them take a hack at it was Logan Morrison back in the first, and he was successful. So surprising that we haven't continued. Looks like he does favor that first pitch fastball.
Yeah,
All 3 in this inning.
In this inning, it's been first pitch fastball, second pitch breaking ball, and the count now 1-1. I wouldn't be surprised to see another breaking ball here. Couldn't quite tell. It looked like it had a little bit of downward movement, but it misses outside for now 2-1 count.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're on the mound and it's working for you, you got to continue doing it. And if you're the Tigers and you're coming up to the plate, you got to change, and you got to realize the formula that he's using to retire your number 1 and 2 batters here.
The fastball misses there. Now 3-1 for Goodrich. And Goodrich, at this point, I think he'd be happy to reach first on a walk. He'd like to get a pitch that he can handle, and he'll take that walk. So after 2 strikeouts to open the inning, it's going to be a walk to Goodrich. And that'll bring up Jack Vonderhaar, the left fielder filling in for the All-American candidate, Rafe Shamet, who has looked pretty solid filling in. I'm not going to say that Rafe is in danger of getting woolly pipped here, but Vonderhaar definitely starting the season off 2 for 6, one of those a big-time 2-run homer, and also added another RBI to help the Tigers win their game against Birmingham Southern on Sunday. First pitch, he takes for a strike. And with Gould, it's rinse and repeat. First pitch.
Yeah, that time opting to go with the breaking ball outside corner of the plate, just missed. As he throws over to first. First time in a while he's had to work with a runner on. We'll see what the right-hander can do with Goodrich standing on first.
318 down the right field line. And I think Vonderhaar was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. That swing makes contact. The Tigers probably regain the lead.
Quick back throw over to Goodrich, and he was starting to walk off. That's a great move from Endicott. They might have been better off letting Goodrich walk another 2 steps. They would have probably had him. He was just casually going. Now the runner goes. Throw down to second. Safe. Half the field was already walking off for the goals. And Michael Goodrich with the stolen base.
Yeah, absolutely. He did well to get around the tag there. His shortstop pretty much took up the entirety of the base path trying to get the glove down.
Goodrich had a stolen base back in his freshman season. Did not have any last year. Now his second career stolen base as a Trinity Tiger.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're a Tiger fan, you're wondering why they were worrying so much about throwing over to first. Clearly they knew something we didn't, as Goodrich was able to take a free base.
No, 2-2 for Vonderhaar. Yeah, and it's not really a surprise. Coach Scannell's probably out there screaming at the guys to just get something going. The idleness of this game so far for Trinity is probably very frustrating at this point.
Now just one single away from Drawing level. Will be a full count with 2 outs, so Goodrich will be going once again on this pitch.
Well, he's got first base open, so he'll probably hold up just a bit. See if the 3-2, that misses down in the dirt, and that'll be another walk. So 2 strikeouts to open, and then back-to-back walks. You know, sort of maybe the same situation we saw with Tyndall on the other side of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Just having to worry about that runner, and especially after he stole the base, it was even more of a threat from second. So now it'll bring up Metz with a chance to really make his first significant impact on the season. He has 1 RBI chance here to bring home the tying run, now standing on second base. Coming into this one hitting 167 with that 1 RBI.
Yeah, he had a nice shot out into left field a couple of times in his last at-bat. Officially went down on strikes looking. He gave 2 a ride out into foul territory. That one misses. Now 1-1. And for Metz, an opportunity here if he's able to find himself a base hit. Drive in a run, maybe 2, depending on where he can place it. For Gould, he's just looking to get out of the inning again, and pitches like that will definitely help. And he's now 1-2 out in front of Metz.
Yeah, absolutely. And what an opportunity for the first-year third baseman to gain some confidence here. Just a single could bring his team back into this game.
Has a decent hole between first and second if he wants it.
Oh, believe me, he wants it, Josh. He wants nothing more than that gapper in between first and second.
I've already seen Goodrich show his speed. That stolen base. 1-2. Fouled off.
Does well there just to stay alive in the count. Get another look at the offering here.
One, two down. Pitch from Gould. Misses. Now 2-2.
Yeah, we saw the catcher there, McDonald, set up outside, so looking to get Metz to chase. He wasn't having any of it, and he'll get a chance again with 2 strikes.
A couple of Tiger alumni, William Wells and Christian Muscarello, taking the game in today. And Metz down on strikes once again, and the threat is done. No runs, no hits, no errors. There were 2 left on. And after striking out the first 2, walking 2 more, Gould strikes out the side here in the 4th. We'll be back for the 5th. Endicott 1, Trinity 0. Top of the 5th, Christian Allaire, the 9-hole hitter for Endicott, is going to lead things off for us here. And Mark Tyndall back out there on the mound. He's got 6 Ks. through 4 innings. Blair grounded out to third in his first at-bat. Comes up with a big swing there and comes up empty. Now 0-1 from Tyndall. And you see the difference there. He's working quickly once again. Skips that one down into the dirt.
Yeah, the difference just can't be overstated for Tigers man out there on the mound. Saw how it affected Bold as well. See, time called.
Time called might have been called by John Tucker, who races over to the mound. It's a very interesting call because I don't think that the batter, unless he was just verbally requesting it, was asking for it. Normally you see a batter set out a hand. That one chopped, but foul right there in the early part of the infield.
Yeah, it must have been something there that we didn't recognize or see because, like you said, a very unconventional time call from the umpires. Wearing black tonight, as per usual, though referred to by those close to him as blues. Not sure why that one is.
That one lifted opposite field. Vonderhaar giving chase. Lands safely in the foul warning track. So we'll do this 1-2 once again.
Good contact there from Christian Allaire, the freshman. Drove it probably 300 feet down the left field line, just a bit too far to the left. If you're a fan of the goals.
He straightens this one up a little bit, but it's going to hang up in the air. Vonderhaar calls off Meredith. There's one down here in the top of the 5th.
The top of the order, center fielder, number 2, Dan Cacciola.
So we're back to the top of the order. Dan Cacciola for Endicott. He's 0 for 2. He struck out in the first, and he flew out to center in the third. The Endicott's come in. They've looked impressive. That first pitch misses low, ball 1. And nice job there from Tyndall. He had been going fastball first pitch a couple of times. Mix it up, keep everybody guessing. You don't want anybody sitting on a pitch and driving one for a base hit. And there's a fastball. He comes back now 1-1. Tyndall delivers another strike.
Cacciola made his way about halfway back to the dugout there in between pitches, making Tyndall wait a bit longer than he would have liked. As he comes for the 2-strike pitch.
Yeah, it's the game within the game, trying to disrupt the timing, the rhythm of the opposing team without being unsportsman. I think he was clearly within that, taking a little. Now he asks for time here again. You can kind of see Tyndall right there, just kind of, let's go. Like, what's the holdup here? And might have a case. Gould working rather effectively and quickly there for Endicott as well. Both pitchers, I think, liking that. That one driven out into the gap. That's going to fall into right center field. Jake Martin quickly on top of it. The throw into second will not be close. And Cacciola now 1 for 3 on the day with a stand-up double. The third hit of the day for Endicott.
Yeah, second time in a row that Cacciola's been able to drive it out into the outfield. This one finds the gap, and now he finds himself out at second base.
So Anthony Makia now with 1 down and a runner in scoring position. Flew out to left field and then got struck out looking. Steps in with a big opportunity. They're already up 1-0. A well-placed ball here. There's a good chance to make it 2. You see Tyndall with that look back again. First pitch delivery was low. We'll monitor that as this at-bat goes on to see if it affects any of the rhythm or just the timing of his approach here to Makia. Nice pitch inside. He's going to get that one for a strike.
Yeah, great job there from Tyndall. Gave him a stare down at second base and then found the inside corner of the plate. Can't ask for much more there from your man on the mound.
Little two-seam action back, running back in as it looked like it was going to probably miss completely on the inside. Pitch low, now 2-1.
It's really impressive how much of the pitcher's motion is just muscle memory. As for the majority of this motion with the man on second base, Tyndall's not even looking at the plate where he's going to deliver. And he just whips around and usually finds the strike zone.
That one laced into center field, on going back as Meredith. He's got the catch. And retreating back to second base as he was halfway between second and third will be Casciola. But the dugout for Endicott out with high fives all around for Makia as he sent that one on a line drive. Tigers had pretty good defensive play there from Mason Meredith, and we talked about him earlier. Had a game against Birmingham Southern where he recorded 8 outfield putouts, including 4 in a row. One of them was a big diving catch. Dave Smith's going to head to the mound here. The team looks like they are getting ready to receive Tyndall back towards the dugout, and we'll have a pitching change with 2 down here in the top of the 5th inning. It'll be Corey Cater. We'll get you caught up on Cater when we return here in just a moment. And 2 down here as Corey Cater wraps up his warm-up pitches. I can tell you he's had 7 innings pitched so far this season, given up 4 hits, 4 runs, 2 earned. He's walked 3 and struck out 5. It was a 2.57 ERA. He's one of the Tigers' more reliable closers. The sophomore came in last year as a freshman, just absolutely taking over the, I'd say, the middle relief role for the Tigers. Didn't really serve up as a closer a whole lot, but he definitely came in into some tough jams and closed everybody down as a first-year player. And so far in his sophomore season, he hasn't really experienced any of those sophomore slumps. Pretty respectable 2.5 ERA. He's got a runner on second with 2 down here. And the batter is Brendan McDonald, who's been on base twice today, but officially 0 for 1, has scored the game's only run. That was back in the last inning when he was hit by a pitch and then made his way around. reached in the first inning on the error by John Tucker. Cater behind in the count 2-0. Gets first strike. Cater from Sacramento, California. Just another of the long line of players from the West Coast that have come into San Antonio, done extremely well. That one's going to be over to second base. Logan Morrison handles it easily. And a couple of pitches for Cater here, and he's out of the inning. Tigers revert, giving up any more runs, but Endicott still holding to that 1-0 lead through 4.5. And Tigers will be looking to bring it level when we return. So we head to the bottom of the fifth. Quick update over in Seguin. Trinity University men's basketball currently out in front of Centenary. Actually, the game now just tied. So we are just underway in the second half. They're 35-35. At halftime, Danny Rivera receiving the SCAC Elite 19 award, which means he's got the highest GPA amongst all players on the all-conference team. So congratulations to Danny Rivera, Tiger Senior. And stepping in for Trinity now will be the designated hitter, Brendan Caraway. Caraway so far 0 for 1, had a little ground out to the shortstop back in the third inning. Gold out there still just throwing darts. Misses on the first two, though. Talked about his last inning out. He struck out the side, faced 5 batters. He walked 2, struck him out, struck out 3. And it was a really interesting look at the scorecard, seeing 3 strikeouts and 2 walks. And for the most part, he didn't need any other help around the diamond. Get a mound visit here.
Yeah, you're just mentioning Tiger basketball and Danny Rivera. 2 really impressive features in that award that he received. The fact that he was in the all-conference mentions after only playing just a handful of games. Huge impact player for the Tigers, looking to get it done now in the dance. They've taken the lead again.
That'd be something. The Tigers struggled throughout the season. Of course, the basketball team started off playing a very tough non-conference schedule, much like the baseball team here, scheduling a couple of series against some really good teams. We'll get to that schedule before too long. Caraway shows bunt on the 2-0, and I'm going to say that one was missed high, so now 3-0. And the Tigers really struggled, didn't get their first win until late December. And that one comes in for a strike, now 3-1. They got a couple of wins to start their conference season. Thought maybe things were going to start to turn around, and then just couldn't quite get it together. They lost some close games, and some of those losses as Caraway draws the walk just spiraled down. But they were able to make the conference tournament as the 6th and last seed And, I mean, I think honestly they've got a chance to make some noise. And we've seen teams in the SCAC, whatever sport it is, have a chance. Once you get to that conference tournament, no matter what seed you are, you look at it as a fresh start, and you've got a chance. Wisniewski up for Trinity now. Lined out to the left fielder. He's got a runner on. Take strike one. Interesting that we didn't see maybe showing bunt or see if you want to maybe put a hit and run on or something here with a runner on. Tigers really just have not been able to get anything going offensively. Just 2 hits to this point. That's going to miss outside for a ball. 1-1.
Yeah, absolutely. To your point, it's been first pitch fastball most of the time as well. So a hit and run perhaps would have been a good call, but we'll see what Wisniewski can do here. Looks like we'll just be a normal at bat, nothing coming from the dugout.
Caraway was back in easily on that one. So he has a lead. He's got basically the left foot, the trail foot, as he goes. Pitch inside, and that throw going to get away into center field, and with the backup, Cacciola able to bring that ball back in and keep Caraway at second. So stolen base for Caraway.
Tigers clearly feel they can run against McDonald. That's the second stolen base already, and just a couple of base runners in this one.
Yeah, Tigers came in just 2 for 4 on the season for the first 5 games. That one misses inside. Now Caraway's going to take off to third, and he'll go in uncontested as it'll be McDonald just eating it after it scooted away from him. And so how about that? We talked about, are they going to do anything to maybe put some runner into motion? No need. Gould just a couple of stolen base on him. Really not his fault. And then that one he skips away for a wild pitch. Now, Tigers now 4 for 6 on the base path. So that last move over to third is going to go down as just a wild pitch, not a stolen base.
In these close, one-run ball games, that can prove to be differential. Your performance on the base pass, getting runners into scoring position from something like a walk for Caraway, as Wisniewski's going to go down swinging here. 2 more chances to bring home the runner at third.
Yeah, Wisniewski spun out of his stance there, basically. So there'll be 1 down for Mason Meredith.
And the streak continues for the man on the mound. 4 out of the last, let me count these up, 4 out of the last 7 have been struck out, and the other 3 have been walked.
4 out of the last 7, but his last 4 outs have come from the strikeout. So he started off, everything was rolled out for a ground ball, basically, by the Tigers. Now he dishes that one away. Caraway's going to come in to score, and this game is tied 1-1. And I was going to say, before that, Caraway, when he moved down from second to third, that was going to go down as a pass ball. And this one's going to go as the wild pitch. So that's his first wild pitch of the game, and that allows Caraway to score. And what a job by Caraway. Draws the walk and then just continues around. And that's going to prompt another mound visit, and I think... Well, it's interesting because he's going to get pulled here, but they've got nobody warming up. So I'm not sure what the situation is or who's going to come in to throw. Nobody moving in the outfield, nobody moving here.
Yeah, and I think it's harsh on Kevin Gould as well. He's done a really good game, and he started to add the strikeout to his repertoire in the last 7 or so batters. It's just the walks and then a couple of pitches that got away from him, and now similarly to how the Tigers pulled their pitcher really quickly after a couple hard-to-hit balls. It's a very quick change of fortune for the man on the mound.
So it's going to be the sophomore from Acton, Massachusetts, Alexander Mandris. He was warming up earlier, and I guess he felt he was warm and just waiting and ready to go if need be. And that time has come. We've got 1 down here in the bottom of the 5th. We've got an extremely close, low-hit game here, and both of the starters are gone. We'll be back in just a moment here on the Tiger Network. Alexander Mandris in for Endicott, and he comes in with that sidearm delivery. 2018 All-CCC first team. And he was a Rawlings preseason All-American in high school. Stepping in for the Tigers, Mason Meredith, and he'll continue his at-bats.
Got to look as he was warming up at some of the usual from the Tiger bullpen. A little bit of dancing led by Devin Wright and the relievers out there. Always good to see them having a good time. The ball boy getting involved as well.
Mandris 2.55 ERA last year as a sophomore. Struck out 6.75 per 9 innings. Meredith gives this one a ride. It's not particularly deep. Camping out underneath it will be the left fielder. And Makia gets second out of the inning. This little job racing over. It looked like Endicott just had everybody positioned very well. Makia definitely raced over there and took it, but he was camped out underneath that one for about 4 or 5 seconds, it felt like. Back to the top of the order, Logan Morrison for the Tigers. He's 1 for 2. Started off the game with that single for Trinity, and then was rolled up into a double play. Then he flew out to right field in his second at-bat. He's got bases empty, 2 down here. Takes a really nice cut on that one, but he fouls it back, and it's 1-1.
These Tiger hitters getting a first look at the new pitcher, dealing the sidearm motion.
Yeah, it's a weird sidearm motion, too, because he doesn't completely come as a submariner, but he doesn't completely come anywhere near, like, he's not even, like, 3/4 slot. It is a weird, like, he starts off from the side, and then he kind of brings it up a little bit to that 3/4 position. And that one fouled back. The count now 2-2 on Morrison. So Mandris, 6'3", 200-pound sophomore, looking to get out of the inning here with a strikeout. Not going to get it. It was a great frame job there from McDonald. Count runs full. And we talked about Trinity this season. 2-out rallies. They've had quite a few. Not going to get one here, as down on strikes will be Morrison, but Tigers do tie it up. After Caraway walked, he stole second. And then a pass ball and a wild pitch brought him home, and it is 1-1 as we head to the 6th. Top of the 6th inning, Corey Cater back out there for the Tigers, and it'll be Perkins, who is 0 for 2 today with 2 strikeouts. But he's getting his first look against Cater. But he starts off 0-1. 1-1 game here in the 6th inning. 1 run, 3 hits, no errors for Endicott. 1 run, 2 hits, 2 errors for Trinity. Trinity ranked number 4 in the country by D3Baseball.com. Into the perfect game rankings, I'm told, as well this season. They started off the season unranked in the preseason poll. 0-2 now as Perkins sends that one foul into the tarp. I hesitate to say the word tarp. We've had bits of rain here the last couple of days. Fortunately, even though the forecast a few days ago called for there being rain tonight and tomorrow, all of that rain seems like it is going to fall between 11 p.m. and somewhere around 2 a.m. Central Time, as that's going to be a strikeout, and then Goodrich fires down to Tucker for the official putout. And Perkins, 0 for 3, 3 Ks. Might grab himself a special hat here while he's in San Antonio. And that'll bring us to the 5-hole hitter, John Duffy. Duffy with a strikeout, and then he reached on a fielder's choice, officially 0 for 2. Cater came in relief, got the final out of the 5th inning. Misses with his first offering to Duffy. It's 1-0. So hopefully all the rain will stay away during game time hours. Of course, we had Birmingham Southern from Birmingham, Alabama come in here last week, and we had 85 to 90 degree weather on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It was absolutely perfect baseball weather here in February in San Antonio. Had Cortland come in 2 weeks ago, and it was cold and rainy the entire weekend they were here. In fact, we lost one of the games against Cortland due to the weather. We only were able to get 2 games out of that 3-game set. Endicott comes in. It's not particularly cold. It's mildly chilly. It's in the low 60s, so it's not bad. But you got a little bit of gray, gloomy clouds all day today. Anticipated rain in the nighttime hours. We're going to come back tomorrow. Tigers women's tennis trying to get things kicked off at 9 a.m. tomorrow against Washington St. Louis. 2 prolific programs in the women's tennis realm. The men's tennis team will be in action tomorrow at 1 o'clock. And then you can find us right here at 2 o'clock as we get ready for game 2 of this series. But we're still knotted at 1 here. Top of the 6th, 1-1 in game 1. It's going to be Cater with another strikeout. And Corey Cater got a ground out to end the inning in the 5th when he came on in relief. And then he's back to some strikeouts here to start his first full inning of work.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned the weather over the last couple weekends. It would be Birmingham Southern that even more wouldn't want you to mention the word tarp after they had the contentious ground rule called that prevented them from scoring an extra run in the final game of the 3-game series. I think they would track the final result back to that very play as they got stuck underneath the tarp stored on the right field line.
Yeah, they lost that game in extra innings on a Tiger walk-off. They would have been ahead 5-4 if it hadn't been for the automatic ground rule double, or excuse me, the ground rules here that prevent the runners from advancing forward. The ball getting stuck in the tarp. It's Kyle Brennan. He's 1 for 2 on the day, had a single in the left center, and then he flew out to right. And he's heading the count now 2-1.
I think stuck in the tarp might be a generous way to put it there, but that is the rules here.
Yeah, the tarp cover was sort of half on, half off against Birmingham Southern, and it just sort of fell into the area where it was half off, and it was covered up by the tarp. The count now 3-1. And immediately, all of the Tiger players rushing over there just threw up their arms saying, it's unplayable, it's unplayable, and that kept the go-ahead run stranded at third base. Tigers were able to get the next batter out, and we went to the 9th and 10th innings. Tigers were able to contend and eventually break through in the 10th, as Brennan's going to draw a walk, so he stays 1 for 2. Now they've got a runner on with 2 down.
Third baseman number
It'll be
8,
Matt Bald, third baseman, who's also 1 for 2 on the day, and he's got an RBI so far, the only for Endicott on a single back in the 4th inning. So this will be Cater's first test with a runner that he's put on base. And he did come into the game with a runner on. So we've seen him work from the stretch before. Starts off with a fastball, and it'll be 0-1.
Cater here with the potential to strike out the side, now ahead in the count as well. He would like nothing more than to get his man to go down swinging.
Bald fouls that one back. Now he's behind 0-2. Don't see any action down here for Endicott, so when we come back for the bottom of the 6th, expected to be Alexander Mandrews back out there after a strong showing. He came in the bottom of the 5th. But for now, the 0-2 count from Cater. Bald sort of throws the bat out at it. Oh, look, it's stuck somewhere around the tarp. Oh, it just skirted past it. I'm going to say, we're going to have the same situation here, except that ball wasn't in fair territory.
Starting pitcher Gold for the Gulls goes to retrieve the ball. Takes a much desired break from his obligatory stretching after coming out of the game. That one goes to the backstop, and the runner will advance to second. Tigers have to be careful not to allow him to come all the way around without a hit like they were able to do in the bottom of the last inning. Take a couple more for that to happen, of course.
Matt Bald, native of Wisconsin. The 6 foot 170 junior watches that one hit the plate, and that goes to the backstop. So similar to how Caraway found his way around, a couple of errant throws and a little bit of trouble retrieving them, has found Endicott now in a position to reclaim the lead here. His count is 2-2 to Bald.
You know, it's just a bit more of a mental strain on Cater. He has to think about another pass ball. Quite possibly could score the go-ahead run as he continues to bounce it in front of.
As Dave Smith's going to come out. This visit probably prompted by head coach Tim Scannell, who's probably telling Dave, just, hey, let's figure this out before we give up this tie game an opportunity here. For Bald, 8 RBI a season ago. Had 5 as a sophomore. But it looks like that season he might have been granted well, actually, Bald the senior, so as a sophomore, 5 RBI, 8 RBI as a junior.
Already has 1 on the day, and now with the runner standing on third, a chance to double his tally for the game and the season. Of course, it's the season opener.
So Goodrich and Smith will depart the hill. They'll leave Cater to it, and he's got a full count, 2 down. The runner on third is Brennan. He walked after 2 strikeouts to open the inning. Cater steps off. For Cater, I mean, he's got first base open. It's not necessarily what you'd want to do. But rather than give up a hit, if you're going to miss in a spot where he can't really drive in that run. That one's low and basically what we just talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. Now with the 2 outs, you also have the force out at second base. So if you want to look at it from the glass half full perspective, that is a benefit for the Tiger defense. They just have the one out left to record here in the top of the 6th, and the runner on 3rd to worry about.
I'll bring in the sophomore shortstop from Hudson, New Hampshire, Matt McKinney. He's over 2 on the day. Flew out to center and then struck out. First pitch, though, he takes for ball 1. He's got runners on 1st and 3rd. Cater was working pretty quickly, working pretty effectively. The runner got on, and just the pace that he's had has slowed down. That one will be in there for a strike. Evens the count.
Yeah, McKinley down in the 8th spot in the order here. Today he hit .223 with 21 RBIs a season ago. Gets a chance here with the runner on 3rd.
Now 1-2. Majoring in accounting, I'm sure he'd love to tally some RBI at this point. Indifference ruled on stolen base for Bald. That one's going to be rolled over to Logan Morrison at 2nd. And Corey Cater works himself out of a jam that he put himself in. And they're going to leave 2 on. We're going to go to the bottom half of the 6th, still tied at 1. And we'll be back in just a moment here on the Tiger Network. Bottom of the 6th inning, and for the Tigers, they couldn't have it any better than what they wanted here. 2, 3, and 4 due up. Jake Martin to lead us off. First pitch swinging, and that's going to be down the left field line. Martin digs in. He's going to go for 2, and he'll have a stand-up double to lead us off here in the bottom of the 6th.
And that is just what we expect from Jake Martin after he previously recorded 3 outs on 2 at-bats, and that's more like it from the right fielder who came into this one hitting .400 with 3 RBI. He gets a chance here to perhaps score a run as he starts off the inning on second base.
We talked about how important it was for Corey Cater to exit the top of the 6th with the game still tied, and I think that's maybe more mental. You don't want to have to continually have to dig and come back on a game. As the wheel put into motion and back safely is Martin. They bring everybody up and maybe in a bit of confusion try to pick Martin off of second base. Andrews threw back over to Allaire, who was covering from second. And he was back easily. John Tucker be the batter for Trinity. with a long look in, and now he's going to ask for some more signs. Now they're going to come and meet halfway between the plate and the mound and see if they can resolve their differences on the signs. For Tucker today, he's 0 for 2. He ground out to third and he struck out. Came into the game batting .471.
And just speaking of the signs, we've seen both teams go back and forth between using the traditional hand signals from the catcher and the full body signs as well. Saw the Tigers using kind of mixture of both in the last couple innings.
Now finally the first pitch to Tucker, and that misses low.
Particularly with the runner on second, concerned about maybe the runner picking up a sign.
That one's fouled off, 1-1. Tucker, I think the most ridiculous thing that I've seen so far, though, is his on-base percentage comes in at .542. And we talk about Carraway, who scored the run for the Tigers earlier. His on-base percentage coming in was .615. Trinity just finding ways to get themselves on base. That's definitely helped their cause, starting off 4-1 against some pretty decent talent from around the country.
Yeah, and just getting on base has been key for both teams today, as they've combined for a total of 6 hits through 6 innings. It's been the walks and the hit by pitch and the reaches on air that have really provided the offense. And the bats have been dry.
Tucker got a piece of that one. Now 2-2. Andrews coming into his first full inning of work here. We'll do the 2-2 once more. Martin at second. Nobody down. Tucker swings and misses. That'll be one down for the Tigers as Michael Goodrich will walk up to the plate. He's 0 for 1 with a walk. Ground out to third back in the second inning. That ground ball to third base was a hard hit ball, and then he came up with a walk afterwards after there were 2 down in the inning. So even though he's struggling this season, I think 2 very good plate appearances so far from Goodrich.
Yeah, absolutely. And a chance for him to break out of this early season slump here with a go-ahead RBI single if he can find a gap.
That one missing, now 1-0. Yeah, 6 home runs a year ago for Goodrich. Andrews really taking his time looking in. 33 RBI for Tiger backstop back in 2018. So far this season, just 2. Which that's actually pretty remarkable. He's got 2 RBIs. He's 2 for 18 on the season. Both of his hits have been doubles, and he's got 2 RBI on the season. So effective when he does get a hit. And that seems to be the situation that we see here out in front of us now. He's got a runner on second, just 1 down. If he could find himself another double, he'd kind of just fall into the role that he's been hitting all year. He's trying to bring in Martin from second. And that's a big hack there on 2-0. Comes up empty.
Yeah, and I think those 2-0 pitches are the ones that, when you're hitting well, they look a lot better than when they did there for Goodrich, who was just a bit late to it.
2-1 misses high. And with one down, Tigers could find themselves with two on. It's Vonderhaar due up next for Trinity. There's a shot by Goodrich going back in right field and not going to get it. This one has cleared the field opposite way. 2-run home run for Michael Goodrich, and the Tigers are back out in front 3-1.
Yeah, and it was the Tiger catcher able to drive it the opposite way. Able to get tremendous amount of power for how much of the bat he put on the ball. It was hard for us to see it go out, and we waited for the crowd to erupt and the Tiger bench to all come together to swarm their catcher, number 22, able to double his RBI count for the season. He brings home 2 with his home run and puts the Tigers out in front 3-1, the first lead of the night.
Yeah, and Goodrich with his first homer of the season. That brings the Tigers' total on the 2019 campaign to 2. And the guy who hit the other one, he steps in now. It'll be Jack Vonderhaar playing left field. And Vonderhaar on the day, just 0 for 1. Grounded out to second his first at-bat, and then he walked in his last one. And he sends that one on a fly. That one's going to go into left field. Not going to be able to track it down is Makia. And that's a stand-up double for Jack Vonderhaar. And the Tiger bats maybe awakening here in the bottom of the 6th inning.
Yeah, it was an interesting play there from Makia out in left field. It looked like he was running pretty much with the glove out in front of him, looking over his head for 10-15 feet as he took a interesting angle to eventually that left field wall where the ball landed on the warning track.
And so with Vonderhaar at second, he's trying to play himself into the lineup. And even when Rafe Shamet comes back, where do you put him? That one's going to be grounded over by Metz. And good to see Metz get a piece of the ball so he avoids getting fitted for a brand new sombrero. And he's going to be 0 for 3 on the day. A nice chopper into the gap there, just easily taken by Bald. And we've got 2 down for Brandon Caraway. Caraway coming in, hitting over 500 on the season. Came in at 556 with an on-base percentage of 615. He's 0 for 1 with a walk and a run scored. And he's 1 for 2 on his plate appearances, and that's going to significantly lower his on-base percentage. It's not every day that you say a guy is 500 on base for the game, and that's going to significantly lower his season total. And that's where Caraway is at right now. First pitch in for a strike.
Yeah, it's certainly a case of the early season statistics being swayed so much by just a couple of plate appearances. But he has been remarkable getting on base, hitting today as the designated hitter.
Officially came in 5 for 9. He's now 5 for 10 on the season. He's got an RBI with 4 walks. He's also struck out 3 times. Rolls that one through the right side, and that's going to potentially be an RBI as Vonderhaar is going to come all the way home, and he's going to be called safe. And the Tigers have a 4-1 lead. Brandon Caraway now 1 for 2 with an RBI. And that was just going up there and throwing the bat out on the ball and doing a job. And once again, Tigers with 2 outs, able to score a run. There's a little bit of action warming up now for Endicott in their bullpen. They've played very well today in this bottom of the 6th inning, just starting things they can't quite get their grip on it. Jack Wisniewski, shortstop for the Tigers. He steps in. It's Nicholas Borkowski warming up for the Goals. Oh, and 2 now.
Wisniewski, another player on this Tiger roster, came into this one hitting over 300. Also had 3 RBIs to add to it. He's 0 for 2 today. The strikeout and the fly out to left field.
Sophomore fitting in nicely into that shortstop role. The throw down on Caraway and safe. It's going to be safe as the call. I wonder if it was safe because the shortstop, McKinley, dropped the ball at some point. He didn't look to make that call. He looked to just call him safe. The ball beat him. I thought the tag had beat him as well. Unfortunately, with the setup that we have today, we don't have our replay system for these contests.
I think it's just another piece of shrewd base running. He's put on a clinic, has Caraway, in the last couple innings. He found himself on base from a walk in the 5th and was able to come all the way around to score with a stolen base, a wild pitch, and a pass ball. Here he gets another stolen base, so 2 on the day for the Tigers DH. Doesn't get to go out there to play defense, so he's eager to stretch his legs, looks like, when he gets out on the base path. And there's been no answer from McDonald behind the plate so far.
Yeah, 3rd stolen base of the game. Mentioned it earlier. Tigers just 2 for 4 coming in. Now the 0-2 pitch was Wisniewski. It's going to be over to Bald, who throws, and a nice job from Brennan to reach out and grab that one, as it was just a touch offline. But they'll retire Wisniewski and the Tigers, but not before the Tigers plate 3, including a big 2-run homer from Michael Goodrich. And that puts the Tigers out in front 4-1. We'll be back for the top of the 7th here in just a moment.
Seventh inning here in San Antonio. The Tigers with a productive 6th inning. They score 3 runs. They have a 3-run lead, 4-1 our score. And right now it's about trying to seal the deal and get a series opening win. That's exactly what the Tigers are looking for. And to start off the inning here for the visitors, it's the number 9 hitter, Christian Allaire. 0 for 2 today, a ground out to short and a fly out to left. Cater's still in the game for the Tigers. And the biggest key for him is going to be just throwing strikes, a couple of walks in that previous half inning. And if you're able to limit those freebies, it's a lot tougher task here for the visiting Gulls to try and orchestrate a rally. They got plenty of velocity on the mound and a lot of options in the bullpen, but throwing strikes will be key. And, well, 3-0. I'm saying it for a reason, obviously, here is off to a bit of a sluggish start in this opening at bat.
Yeah, and Cater came out in the 6th and got the first 2 batters down on strike as Perkins and Duffy before he seemed to lose a bit of control and let a couple batters on through walks before he eventually got McKinley to ground out. So that the count goes 3-1, and it'll be key, like you said, for him to hit the strike zone here.
3-1 pitch over the outside corner, it looked like. So that's a strike. 3-2. Tigers just trying to keep that momentum in their side of things. Now the 3-2, and that's low and outside, ball 4. Cater thought he had strike 3. He started to saunter off the mound, waiting for his catcher Goodrich to fire that around the horn, and instead it's going to be a stressful start to this inning. A man on base, and now the top of the order with Cachicola to start it off.
For Allaire, that is his first time reaching base in his collegiate career. Congratulations to the freshman, now standing on Tucker's back.
Yeah, bit of a different responsibility, and you're coming in, and all of a sudden you're expected to make an impact like we talked about earlier in the broadcast. A good team, Endicott, and game away from the regionals, and, well, big game against the number 4 team in the country, and there is no time to just let you get adjusted to the game. You need to come in and you need to find a way on. And so getting a walk, especially after conceding those 3 runs in the 6th, that's critical here for Endicott.
Yeah, absolutely. They've had a 25-win season in 9 straight years, so very successful program. And like you said, always in the conversation come the end of the season. And for Allaire to come in and start at second base, certainly testament to his talent. And he's been able to reach base now in his first appearance for the Gulls.
Stressful times for Tim Scannell and Dave Smith. The coaching staff he's fallen behind 2 balls and no strikes to the leadoff hitter for the Gulls, and so Goodrich, I think, wisely calls time. And the conference tournament here for the SCAC basketball side of things just got shown a score. The Trinity men, they pull out the victory 65-63 over Centenary. So they're going to be sticking around during the weekend. And for a season that, quite frankly, got off to a disastrous start, it's nice to see them playing up to the way they knew they could. As this one gets down, and that's a base hit. Sinking line drive into right center field, and the walk, and now a single. And all of a sudden, here comes that rally. And now Tim Scannell, the head coach, he's going to come out and have a few words for Corey Cater. And I'm always curious. Dave Smith usually comes out. He has the word with the pitchers. He'll be the one to make the pitching changes. But when Scannell comes out, it's a much different conversation. Not so much, I think, X's and O's and strategy, but really just asking the player, is the moment too big for you? Are you ready to do this? Do you need to refocus here? Because these are things that are not mechanical issues. These are just, we know you can throw strikes. You're just not throwing strikes right now. So reshape the mindset here, and let's go. Let's get after it.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of being a head coach in any sport is your ability to be a man motivator, and so that's what Scannell was hoping to bring there to his man on the mound, as now there's the 2 men on with nobody down here. 3-run lead for the home team.
Getting out number 1 right now. The biggest key moving forward is, looks like we may have a pinch hitter here. Benjamin Shana looks like he's come off the bench. Another first year for the Gulls. Another guy on this roster from Connecticut. Seems to be a lot of recruiting takes place in Connecticut and Massachusetts, obviously. But the lefty comes in. He's going to be asked to lay down a sacrifice bunt. The first pitch, though, from Cater missed outside, ball 1. And, this is a situation right now where, yeah, you put a couple guys into scoring position, but if they're going to give you an out, you take the out at this point. No reason to overcomplicate the plot here.
Yeah, absolutely. The tying run at the plate, so moving those 2 runners over and sacrificing the out. Like you said, the Tigers will take that.
2 balls and no strikes. Cater right now fighting himself more than anything. Another early square, and that is at the knees for a strike. Obviously, for a guy like Shana, his first appearance for the Gulls. And, he takes another strike. A pitch, it looked a little bit low, but the Tigers will take it certainly, and it squares up the count at 2-2.
Absolutely, with the 2 strikes, it'll prevent him from going for the bunt once again, so we'll see what he can do trying to get the bat on the ball.
Wouldn't be surprised if they ask him to bunt. Yeah, he squares with 2 strikes, and he lunges for it, and he comes up empty. Big strikeout for the Tigers, and real missed opportunity there for Shayna.
Yeah, worst case scenario there where you don't move the runners and give up the first out.
So the Tigers, in theory, of course, can get out of this inning with a double play. Brendan McDonald, the catcher, not great speed. He'll come to the plate. Cater looking for strike 1. See if he can get no 1 count. He misses outside. Opted, though, to go with a breaking ball this time. It's 0-1.
Cater looks in to his catcher Goodrich, using the body signals to indicate the pitch.
Hit and run is on, and this one is lined foul out of play. Sigh of relief there for the Tigers, and interesting to see Gold's getting things in motion, trying to manufacture some offense. Probably the perfect time to put the hit and run on as well. 1-1. McDonald has reached a couple of times today, once on an error and also hit by a pitch. As he takes low, it's 2-1.
Like you mentioned, with the hit and run, wouldn't be surprised maybe to see it again, as it gives the base runner the possibility of beating out the double play, depending on how hard the ground ball would be hit. Not to mention gives a chance to score from first if the ball manages to reach the outfield.
Well, and it's slightly different, obviously, than a double steal. As to those guys, they're getting their leads and they're going on first movement. They've got to make sure on a hit and run that the pitcher goes to the plate before they take off, and they're really putting a lot of trust in the hitter's ability to put the ball in play. Otherwise, if he comes up empty, they're sitting ducks. Here's the 2-1. No, instead, they got him picked off. The throw to second. Oh, it's high, and it deflects off the glove of the shortstop, Wisniewski. They had the runner. They did exactly everything they wanted to do, and Cater just got a little too excited, and he overcooked his throw to the second baseman, Morrison. And now it's first and third, so a ball to the outfield you would think would at least bring home a run if it's deep enough. Tigers can still get a double play. But, is that painful.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the same problem we saw this time on the pickoff. Maybe it was Tyndall earlier on who had the chance to get the double play ball, as this one's popped up here in the infield. And it'll be brought in by Wisniewski. But that one was a double play ball that was thrown over the head of the person covering second base. This one was a pickoff play, but both chances for the pitchers to help themselves out defensively. And now it'll be 2 outs for Cater. The runner's still standing intimidatingly over on third.
It's a big second out, though, to get that pop out. Everyone can go to their defensive positions. Still holding the runner on at first base for obvious reasons. And there he goes, Cater. Breaking ball missed outside. Goodrich will just pocket it. One thing the Tigers, I think it's fair to say, have struggled at is, one, keeping runners close at first base and mixing up those looks to the plate, and second, being able to throw out runners on the bases, and perhaps those two things are interconnected. Now the 1-0. Good breaking ball over the outside corner, 1-1.
Yeah, I've seen quite a few steals on both sides of this one. Really no close calls, with the exception of that last one in the 6th inning when it was Caraway that was stealing. Quite a few times the catcher just opting to hold the ball.
1-1 to Perkins. And he takes a little bit low. 2 balls and a strike. Cater has certainly thrown Quite a few pitches since coming into the ball game for Tyndall. Tyndall went 4 2/3, allowed the one unearned run that was a byproduct of his throwing error. Now the 2-1, a defensive-looking hack there to even up the count. Gators already pitched 2, trying to make it 2 1/3 and get out of the 7th inning with that 3-run lead still nicely preserved. But a base hit would certainly bring in a couple. 2-2 pitch. Strike 3 called. Oh, no. Wow.
Strike 3 called by you. The umpire
I'm afraid I was the only
to
one.
disagree.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen quite a few strikes, and that one looked like its brethren, but instead the count is now full, and perhaps playing into the dramatic here. Payoff pitch. That is strike 3 called, and there it is. Down goes Perkins, and down go the goals here in the top of the 7th inning. It is stretch time in San Antonio. The Tigers will come back with them up by 3. It's the Tigers 4 and the goals 1.
No runs, 1 hit, no error.
Bottom of the 7th inning here for Trinity. And on the mound for Endicott will be Nicholas Borkowski. At the bat for the Tigers, Mason Meredith.
Tigers have a real chance to try and put this one out of reach, you would think, with a little more offense. And a good start here.
Yeah, almost on cue. Meredith delivering the offense right there. And base hit for the Tiger center fielder.
Out of the order, second
And
baseman, number 19,
another leadoff man aboard for Trinity. Meredith now 2 for 3 on the day. He had a double back in the 3rd. Now that single here in the 7th.
You know, we see this Tiger team so often, and I feel like it's almost similar to watching a high-profile college basketball game where you've got a ranked opponent and then you've got another team that's trying to pull off the upset. And the opposing team in that scenario has to work so hard in the first half to try and keep it close, try and make it a game. And then in the second half, you just see the strength, you just see the ability of that ranked team. And so often they pull away, and that's why you don't see as many upsets as perhaps we used to. And it's kind of like that with the Tigers. They work so hard to get through that lineup the first time, get through the first 4 or 5 innings. You're trying to keep it close. And then when the Tigers get that offense going, it's not just 1 run. It's 2 runs, and then it's 3 runs. And you feel like you were in it, and you have the chance at the end of the game where, geez, how did we lose by 6, 7 runs? I really felt like we were in the game. That's what the Tigers' offense can do, and that's what makes them such a good team year in and year out, and really so fun to watch.
Yeah, and I think what helps too is, I mean, when you've got a guy who's batting 111 on the season and he comes up and drops a 2-run bomb on you, like, but those are the types of things that Trinity year in and year out, especially here at this ballpark, has been able to do. Now the bunt laid down, they go to second, and a fantastic job by Borkowski as he gets the lead runner, Meredith. Not only did he get the lead runner, he got the lead runner who's also a center fielder. That's a pretty good accomplishment there.
Not a great bunt in that situation. Obviously, right back to the pitcher. You want to go either first or you want to go to third. But if you're Borkowski, the decision has to be immediate, that once you pick up this ball, no hesitation, you're going to second base. He did exactly that. He delivered a good throw. All of those things result in a pretty big play in this inning, and tip of the cap to him for sure.
So now we got Jake Martin back up. Martin on the day, just 1 for 3. That was a double back in the 6th inning down the left field line. And it's one of those things, too. Tigers who are batting around 400 or 500, they look like they're struggling, but then they come up with 2 hits in the game, like Martin does here, as he's now 2 for 4. And statistically wise, they're just right back to where they always are.
That's what I'm talking about, that continuous push. The thing that makes this team so high caliber is just that once they find their way, they're not going to turn it down at any point for the rest of the game. And, Borkowski, these aren't necessarily bad pitches. I mean, that's a pitch on the outer part of the plate. That's just a better piece of hitting from Martin. You let the ball travel, you hit it where it's pitched, on the ground it finds a hole. It makes you wonder a little bit if you get the sacrifice bunt down, if that's going to turn into a run. But the fact of the matter is you've got 2 guys on now. You've got the heart of the order coming up. A couple swings, and 2 or 3 more runs are home.
Yeah, and for Endicott, this is the season opener, obviously, and we talked about that. But you start off with Gould, who just was phenomenal. Like, you just shut it down. Like, I mean, Tiger fans are probably sitting there going, like, what is going on? Is this kid an All-American? Like, what is happening here? We can't touch the ball at all. And he's able to go about 4 and a couple of batters after 4. And then all of a sudden, it's like you said, it's not all at once. It's a little bit at a time. And just time after time. Now, that's not to say Endicott doesn't have a chance to come back here. They definitely do. But they got to get it done defensively. Because offensively, Trinity puts up the numbers year after year. Double steal, and Tigers will take it.
Caught him snoozing. And that's one way to avenge for the missed opportunity with the bunt there. 2nd and 3rd now, less than 2 outs. You're thinking about getting 1 run at least. And to your point, it's not that Endicott is out of the game by any stretch of the imagination, but the fact of the matter is, as they go ahead and intentionally walk the bases loaded, these innings become more stressful. And when you are constantly having guys on base, in your mind, you just feel like you're perhaps going against an opponent that has a slight edge over you. It's just playing a little bit better at that moment. When the game was going back and forth, zeros on the board, and Gould was doing a phenomenal job. You feel like we got these guys. We're just as good. We are flying high right now.
Yeah, I mean, and to that point, through the first 4.5, Endicott definitely looked like the better team out here today. Trinity didn't wake up at all.
Certainly a level of swagger that was with Endicott. Just the way that they were fielding the ball, the way they were throwing it. I mean, they looked as good as any team. And now we're starting to see the separation of offense. And Borkowski's going to have to make some big pitches here, and his defense is going to have to back him up if they're going to get through this 7th inning unscathed.
Yeah. And Tucker, on the 2019 season, definitely commanding of an open base intentional walk right there. But you do so at the peril of bringing up a guy who just went oppo for a 2-run homer, and now he comes up with a big shot into left field. That'll score a run, and Tigers now lead 5-1. And an RBI once again from Michael Goodrich. He's got 3 on the day. And the Tigers still have the bases loaded here with 1 down.
Well, listen, I mean, I know that Chomet is not in the lineup, and obviously he would probably be penciled into that 3 spot. But putting that aside, the combination of Tucker, Goodrich, and the batter now, Vonderhaar, when they're in form, I mean, this is a powerful trio in any lineup, one that is filled with power and the ability to hit the ball to all fields. So we saw Vonderhaar homer earlier in the season. Borkowski's got nowhere to go. He's got to throw strikes.
Yeah, and for Vonderhaar, the job is simple. Go up there, find a pitch you like, and just put it in play. I mean, you're going to have to force somebody to throw a double play on you. And if they can't do it, that's another run across. And if you can get the score to 6-1, the complexity of that going to the 8th inning really changes how Trinity can approach this. They had to go in the 5th inning to cater, and that's probably something that, Coach Scannell and Coach Dave Smith probably didn't really want to have to do. But given the way that the game was being played at that point, I felt like it was a necessary move. So you've gone through Cater. If you can go the rest of the way with Corey Cater, then that's fantastic. You've got a couple of relievers left for you the rest of the way. As Vonderhaar is going to go down on strikes, so there'll be 2 down. And Metz started to walk out. Now he's being called back. I don't know if it's for a pinch hitter or if he wants to find Wonder Boy in the bat pile there. Then it will be a pinch hitter. Looks like it'll be Dallas Bender for the Tigers. And a good move here, I think, from Coach Scannell. Bender gives you a little bit of that home run capability or the ability just to drive a ball deep somewhere.
Well, and I think that's the strategy, and it's well put on your part. I think right now you're rolling the dice. MJ Metz, again, a talented player, struggling a little bit right now in the early portion of the season. With Bender, you're taking the chance on a guy being able to drive a ball in the gap or over the fence. And if you get it in the gap, that's going to bring home all 3 runs, and that's going to effectively put the game out of reach. So I like the move. It's now all a matter of, what can Dallas do? Go big or go home, right?
He missed all of 2018, but in 2017 he batted .308 on 91 at-bats, had a home run and 14 RBI. We've seen him in batting practice, though. If he gets a hold of one, it does not leave much to the imagination on where it's going to land.
Well, 2 balls and no strikes. This is the situations, or I should say these are the situations that separate, the elite college players, the pro players from everybody else, which is the bases are loaded. You certainly don't want to fall behind 3-0. You're thinking fastball, right? This is a clear fastball situation, and the guys who have ice in their veins, they're going with breaking balls, and they're going for strikes as well. So it'll be interesting to see what Borkowski does here.
Yeah, and he was sitting fastball there, and he jumps out ahead of it. And now 2-1. So the situation, I think, here, still not in Borkowski's favor. Bender still has a little bit of that advantage. But I think the confidence now for Borkowski after throwing that gets him back in here. 2-1. Nice little breaking ball. Bottom drops out, and Bender comes up empty.
And that's good stuff from Borkowski. You miss with your first 2 pitches. They're hitter-friendly situations. He throws a breaking ball for a strike that's fouled off. Then he throws another breaking ball that's buried in the bottom of the strike zone, and now he's got the upper hand.
He just misses there, and the count runs full. So now a situation for the Tigers. You're going to have all 3 runners in motion for the rest of Bender's at-bat. You got Martin at third, Tucker at second, Goodrich at first. The pitch, the swing, and it's a strikeout. And the rally put down. Tigers do score 1 here in the bottom of the 7th, and they push that lead. Tigers 5, Goals 1. We'll be back for the 8th in just a moment. And back here for the top of the 8th, and Corey Cater's still out there on the mound. And we were talking a little bit during the break about how big that strikeout there for Wachowski was. Tigers able to score. Gives them a lot of options, including getting some guys maybe from the back end of that bullpen some reps that they need. But it's going to be Cater back out here still for Trinity, and got Duffy at bat. First pitch swinging is going to be popped up. Logan Morrison will handle easily, and there's one down on one pitch.
You know, obviously this is the college level. It's a results business. And as much as guys like Dave Smith and Tim Scannell, the entire coaching staff would love to be able to get everyone their opportunities and give guys reps, they go out here and they suit up and they put the chalk down because someone's got to win this game, and someone has got to find a way to make sure that at the end of the season the Tigers in a position to win their conference, to go to the postseason and try and get to the College World Series. So 4-run game, it's up for grabs here, and Cater's got to go back out and he's got to throw strikes, and the Tigers are going to keep grinding along to make sure that they secure a Game 1 win.
Yeah, we've definitely seen here, especially at the Division III level, you see 4-run leads evaporate really quickly at times. And that's not necessarily because of a lack of talent. I mean, you've got, Cater, who's been out here now for over 2 innings plus and working on basically his 4th break coming out here for the 8th inning. And so, there's an opportunity here for Endicott. If they can get a runner on, they had 2 guys on for the last inning. So if they can continue to get some of that motion going, continue to get guys on base, they've got the opportunity here. Brennan up now. He's 1 for 2. Had a single back in the 2nd inning and walked in his last plate appearance in the 6th. Sends that one on a drive. Martin coming in, sliding in, making the catch. And there are 2 outs, and Brennan can't believe it. And not sure they're going to have a conversation about it. The first base coach for Endicott basically saying, yeah, it looked like a good catch to me. And so I think that's going to be all that we see out of that one. There will be 2 down for Matt Bald.
Boy, it's hard to gauge, from the perspective that we have. Obviously, a sinking line drive quickly to right, but I don't know. I don't know. It's just so hard to tell.
You got to be able to make that call and make it definitively.
Typically it's pretty easy if you see a guy not make the catch. You see the short hop. You're able to hear that sound of the ball hitting the turf and then the glove. It looked like a good catch from here, certainly, and that looks like a really, really good inning for Cater, one he sorely needed.
Yeah, and he stays under 60 pitches so far here. As we head to the middle of the 8th, we'll be back here. Tigers up 5-1. We'll be back in just a moment. Bottom of the 8th inning here, and making his collegiate debut is going to be freshman from Sharon, Mass, Max Tarlin. And 6'1" righty will be facing Brendan Caraway as we get started. First pitch misses out for a ball.
It's been an impressive showing from the Tigers here. I know they didn't get off to the start that we had seen last weekend with lots of runs being scored in the first inning, but nonetheless, they have flexed their muscles in the middle part of this game, and I think it's fair to say that they have looked like the stronger side.
Yeah, I think they've definitely given a good look at why this team is so highly ranked. You know, they've missed the regionals the last 2 years. They finished 33-9 last season. They were number 1 in the country for almost the entire run of it. I mean, I think by the time the preseason rank they weren't, but by the time the first poll came out, they were out in front, had a really good year going. And then just continued it on, but then they fell apart at the end of the season, losing 5 of their last 7. Didn't qualify for the regional. Finished 4th in the conference tournament. And, now of course this conference had a team go to the College World Series last year in Texas Lutheran. Trinity defeated UT Tyler, who won the national championship last season, in Tyler, Texas, 15-5 early on in the season last year. So it's not like the team wasn't talented enough to be a regional team. They come back in ranked number 4 now and already 4-1 against pretty good competition.
Well, and that's the one thing that I think has been an issue with some Tiger teams. I think that this program always has talented players year in and year out, especially when you match them up not just with the rest of the conference, but the entire Division III landscape. I think sometimes when things aren't going right for the Tigers, that this team can't get out of the funk is, boy, that looked painful. Drilled right in the back, and a couple of looks over towards Tarlin from Caraway. He was not happy about that.
Yeah, so Tarlin will hit his first batter that he faces. Not the ideal collegiate start that you want, but
to wrap up the point I was saying before, I mean, you look at the end of the last season, I mean, the beginning of the 2018 campaign for the Tigers, phenomenal. They looked like they were going to be a shoo-in for the regional, a serious threat to go back to Appleton. And then towards the end of the season, a couple losses, and then the wheels just fell out. I mean, this Tiger team could not get out of their own way. They couldn't score runs. They weren't getting some of the pitching performances they were used to getting. And that was it. Their season was over. And you just wonder sometimes if that mystique, whether it be positive or negative, is the thing that drives the team. If things are going well, this team can win a national championship. But if they run into adversity, the ship is going to sink. And that consistency is what this team, they need to find that, given the year they had a season ago.
Wisniewski at bat, and it's going to be a pinch runner for Caraway. It's going to be the sophomore outfielder from Pleasanton, California, Adam Jew. And he'll take over the base running duties at first. And you're exactly right. I mean, the team probably still had one of the better records in the entire country last year. And it wasn't like they were losing to teams, 15-1 against teams that only had 5 wins on the season. They were, the teams that they probably should have beaten that they lost to were very close games, and the teams that they lost to in the conference tournament are really good teams. And I think we've said this for a while, that the West region gets 6 teams in, and maybe a 7th goes somewhere else to the South Regional, or they get shipped somewhere. But the West region's not going to get a whole lot of teams out there, even though year after year the West region consistently puts out, I would say, anywhere from 6 to 10, maybe even 12 teams who realistically could do some damage in the postseason. Now, I'm not saying that there are 12 teams that are, capable of winning the College World Series. I'm just saying there are teams that can win a few games in a regional and have a good look at stuff. And that's not to say that teams in the Northeast aren't just as capable. It's just that the West only gets a certain amount of teams in.
Yeah, and it feels unfair at sometimes because there have been some good Tiger teams that have been shut out of the postseason because they don't win their conference, and because of what you just said, it just doesn't happen for them. And that's why games like this, they're so important. I mean, what do you do against the Cortland State? What do you do against an Endicott team when you're at home? Because the expectation is that you hold serve and you win these series. And through, the Tigers have done that. I mean, they took the series against Cortland, took the series against Birmingham Southern, and they are a clean ninth inning away from taking the opening game here against the Gulls. And that's all they can do. And that's the thing that I think builds that confidence that they desperately need, especially guys, sophomores, juniors, seniors who were here last year. They just need to get the bad taste out of their mouth. That was the end of last year.
Yeah, you mentioned the seniors on this team now were freshmen on the national championship team. So they've at least been around a group that had what it took to go the distance. Now, that doesn't mean that every senior on this team was a member of the team that went through the postseason. But for the large part, they've got some key leaders here. And they've got some guys who came in after that championship team who are just very good at playing baseball. I think the thing that Trinity also needs to do is just sit here and enjoy this season. It looked like when the Tigers had the wheels fall off last year, it didn't look like a whole lot of guys were really out there enjoying the games that they were playing. And losing necessarily isn't fun, but at the same time, the chemistry was wrong. That one's chopped over to third. Only play is at first, and that's going to sail. And that hits the gate. And runners will advance to second and third as that ball stayed in play. So you got a situation where one of the most important things for these guys out here, and for any team, you're in college. If you've got a good team, if you've got great teammates, go out there and enjoy it. I think there was, some feeling that Trinity got, robbed of a regional appearance last year. And, to be quite honest, the way that the team had kind of finished up that season, they were 0-2 in the conference tournament. And there was no indication from what was going on that they would have done any type of damage at a regional. So to see them come out in 2019 and kind of put the past behind them and say, hey, let's go out here and just have some fun and see what we can do against a schedule that might be the toughest in the country. There are some definite tough schedules out there. But starting off against the number 8 team in the country and then playing a team that's typically highly regionally ranked in the South in Birmingham Southern, and a team that was top 25 the last couple of years. And then a team like Endicott, who's a couple of wins away from making a regional themselves last year, getting into their conference final last couple of years. And they've been a team that, consistently around 25 wins, 15 losses, or a little bit less, last 10 years or so. So you're playing great programs. You're playing teams that, have that same expectation that, you do of going out there and being competitive night in and night out. So it'll be Mason Meredith batting for Trinity. 2 on and nobody out here. Wisniewski reached on the error, and then both runners were able to advance an additional 90 feet. That ball skirted away. Jew running for Caraway. He's at third. Caraway was hit by the pitch. That ball lofted, and it will carry out of the play. Count now 2-2.
You come into this inning 7, 8, and 9 due up for the home side, and at least on paper you're thinking, okay, maybe we get a quick inning here if you're Endicott, and then hopefully able to put together some sort of rally that ties or takes the lead in the 9th inning. And, from a Tiger perspective, you get the first couple of guys on, granted with an error, but you'd think you're going to get at least 1, maybe 2 runs, and it certainly now looks like it's going to be 2.
Mason Meredith rips that one over the left fielder's head. And that will clear the bases and leave Meredith standing on second. And it's going to be a 2 RBI double. Tigers lead 7-1. And going back to what you mentioned earlier, just once the wheels start to slip, Trinity able to take advantage and strike and kind of put the game away.
It's just relentless. I mean, look at the runs they score in the 6th inning. They had a chance to score some more runs in the 7th inning. They get 1. And here we are in the 8th inning. I mean, a quiet start, a hit batter, and then what should have been a routine play to first was instead, the throw, an errant one. But that turns into 2 more runs, and you're just wondering what happened in this game. It was so close. It felt like for so long, and you blink twice and you're down 6.
Yep. Tigers with 1 in the 5th, 3 in the 6th, 1 in the 7th, and currently 2 with nobody out here in the 8th. Logan Morrison took a big hack at the first one, came up empty, and now it's 1-1.
I'd be curious to see who pitches the 9th inning. I think there's a good chance that we'll see Cater come back out, but it's a great opportunity, especially if the Tigers get even an additional run. It'd be a great opportunity for someone to go ahead, give Cater a rest. 60 pitches is not nothing, and you give someone the opportunity to get that valuable game experience. I know they scrimmage every day, but that's not the same thing as when you've got guys in uniforms and you've got umpires. It's just completely different, and anyone who's played sports knows that.
The 1-2 misses high, now 2-2. Talking with the coaching staff, they like the bullpen that they have. They feel it might be as deep as they've ever been. They've got 3 guys they're waiting on to come back from injury, and they feel like once that happens, if they're able to get back into form by around late April and the team is doing well, this count runs full, then they feel like they've got a legitimate chance. If they are in position to make a run at the conference championship and in the conference tournament, and then lucky enough to play on into a playoff situation, they like their chances with the pitching. Of course, the entirety of the playoff landscape flips upside down as that ball's rolled up the middle, can't quite get to it as the shortstop, and put another run on the board. Logan Morrison drives it in. Mason Meredith from second base with a hit up the middle. 8-1 now. And the landscape of the playoff situation is we're going to a smaller regional, to a super regional format. And that will change everything. We're also not playing in Appleton because there will be a pitching change here. Coming into the game for Endicott, it's going to be number 27, Tyler Davis, freshman from Bethel, Connecticut. At least I believe he started making his way out there.
He certainly thinks he's coming into the game. And
Coach Haley's going to leave Tarlin out there. And so back to the pen for the moment.
It's a little bizarre.
Didn't see the arm go up for Davis, but one of those things where I think at this point, it's a 7-run game. You've got a guy making his collegiate debut. Maybe just see what he's got here, see if he can get an out and gain a little bit of confidence. Jake Martin, the batter. Throw over to first. Morrison back in easily.
I think it's easy to imagine the conversation. Coach comes out and just tries to tell him, listen, right now, don't worry about the score. Don't worry about the situation. Throw strikes, compete, show me what you got here. And don't – I'm not saying that he is, but don't be afraid to go after these guys. Don't be afraid to throw strikes. Let's see what happens. You got a good defense behind you. That's what's important in a situation like this.
Yeah, I'm not saying that Endicott's conceding the game at this point, but technically you can go out there now and pitch without fear. As Martin lofts that one into right, and it'll be taken for the first out of the inning. You're absolutely right. You can go out there and pitch without fear at this point.
Well, you don't need Endicott to down 7, all of a sudden go through, 4 different pitchers as if it were situational pitching. And you also don't want to have a guy who's making his first collegiate appearance be one where he doesn't record an out. I mean, what does that do to a player's confidence? So I think this is the right choice. I think him just seeing a fly ball that's an out and knowing that, all right, I can get some of these guys out, that's important. And, it's amazing how all of a sudden he can just flip it. And, I wouldn't be surprised if the Tigers rattle off a couple of hits. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets the next 2 guys out. Baseball's a funny game.
Yeah, and it's also a funny game in the fact that you come into this series, and it is a series. You want to take 2 out of 3, or all three. Well, all three looks like it might not happen. So now you maybe start looking at, okay, what do I need to do here? We can still win the next two games. Walk out of San Antonio 2-1 on the early campaign. So that's got to be playing into Coach Haley's mind as well. That one misses, now 2-1.
Be keeping an eye on that forecast for tomorrow. It looks like it should be all right. It's the good news. There was some fear about today's game. And it's funny how that rain just keeps backing itself up, doesn't it?
Yeah, when I looked earlier this week, the rain was scheduled for Saturday early in the morning, about 8 o'clock, and it didn't look like it was going to relent until about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And when I looked at it yesterday, everything looked like it was going to be middle of the night. And that one rolled up to second, taken by the shortstop, and he'll touch the bag at second, fire over to first, and just like you mentioned, get the next guys out. So he's worked out of the jam. He gives up 3. And Tigers lead 8-1. We're headed to the ninth, and we'll be back in just a moment. Top of the ninth, and looking to wrap it up here for Trinity out on the mound for a second career appearance will be Jimmy Tatum. Tatum, the junior from Thousand Oaks, California. And Tatum last season recorded a strikeout, his only out recorded. And really don't have much other information on Tatum as a pitcher. He's also an infielder.
Well, it comes into the game with a first pitch curveball like that. That's quite the introduction.
Quite the introduction. Welcome, and Matthew McKinley, the batter, taking that curveball. Second pitch, breaking ball as well.
So Jimmy earlier before the game today was getting a good workout in, and I figured he must be a starting pitcher. This has got to be one of those days off. He's really getting after it, and I don't know. I guess he's got enough in the tank here to finish out the ninth inning with a 7-run cushion. So he should sleep well tonight. It's been a good day's work.
Yeah, I saw that last week from Jeff Loneker. He was working out the day, and then a few hours later they'd called him in to pitch, and I was like, well, you got to get your workout when you can. Be ready to pitch when they call on you. And that one spikes the dirt, now 3-1.
Again, this is a situation for the Tigers where just throw strikes. There's no You know, there's no reason to nibble. There's no reason to do anything other than get the ball rear back and fire.
And that is going to drive Coach Scanlon nuts right there. First batter walk. Tatum comes in, and his only career appearance beforehand, he faced one batter and struck him out. And now he gives up the walk.
It's interesting to see also the Tigers holding on the runner with a 7-run lead here in the 9th inning. I don't think that's something that's being put on by the coaches. I just think that's a situation where your brain maybe turns off a little bit. You forget about the value of outs versus runs in this scenario.
Well, with the pass ball, John Tucker is going to move back into his regular fielding position, and McKinley skirts down to second.
So I guess that's not going to matter. But
at this point, now Christian Allure has an opportunity with a runner in scoring position, and I think you were absolutely right. Just throw strikes. You're up 7. If the guys start hitting you, you've got somebody else in the bullpen that can get ready, come in, and see if they can get the job done. But for the time being, you're not going to do yourself any favors loading up the bases because you can't find the strike zone.
No, and I don't mean any disrespect to Endicott, but there's a good chance that you could have Tatum throw nothing but fastballs. Just the old numero uno, every single pitch, and he could get through the 9th inning without giving up a total of 7 runs. Right? Like that. So
just the law of averages are in your favor at this point if you're Trinity.
Right, you got 7 guys behind you. You have the opportunity, you would think, to at least get a few outs just run in your way. So I'm not saying that there's no excuse of falling behind. It's going to happen. But to be at this level, there is an expectation that you have the ability to throw strikes. And this is the situation where that is all you need to get a job done.
And unable to do so now, 3-1. Tatum falls behind Allure here.
When you're down by a lot of runs, the best rally obviously is a rally that's taking place with nobody out, and that's going to be ball 4. And
that'll prompt a visit here from Dave Smith. I think this is more of just hey, settle down, enjoy what you're doing here, just throw to him. Now you've got 2 on, so if the guy gets a third, so what? We'll roll a double play, and we'll just go forward from there.
Even if you load the bases with nobody out, those runners still don't matter in the scheme of things. What matters is all of a sudden the fear is starting to creep into your mind, like, oh man, like this could be really bad. And on the other side for Endicott, it's the confidence that starts to grow of, listen, we're a couple hits away from really making things interesting. And that's what you want to avoid at all costs. Because when you're down 7 going to the 9th, you can say all you want and you can flip your cap and wear it however you want to. But there's a strong part of every person going, you know what, well, it looks like this might not be our night. We might have to gear up for tomorrow. But if you bring home 3 or 4 runs and there's nobody out or there's only 1 out, that changes. You think to yourself, why not? Why not make a big rally here? Why not tie this thing up? So strike 1 is going to be Tatum's best friend, and then strike 1 is dating strike 2. So hopefully they both make an appearance.
And make an appearance as Daniel Cacchiola, the leadoff hitter for the Goals. So if you're Endicott, you're right in the position you want. You're back to the top of the order with 2 on. And Cacchiola, 2 for 4 on the day. And then you got that strike 1. So let's see if the significant other is there. Not yet.
He seems to be more comfortable throwing that breaking ball, that good curveball. It is a good curveball that Tatum has, but you do need a fastball. And to be able to throw it when you get ahead strike 1, hugely helpful.
That one lined into right. Martin will play it in front of him. And like I said, bases are now loaded. Cacchiola 3 for 5 to start his season. And that's going to bring up, should be Christian Jordan, who went in for Benjamin Skina, who went in for Anthony Makia. And it will be Jordan. So Jordan with his first at-bat.
Keep that ball down in the zone if you're Tatum. Induce a ground ball. Just get 1 out. Don't worry about a double play. Outs more valuable than runs at this point. You got a big cushion. There's still no reason to panic.
Batting number 11, Christian Jordan.
Jordan, as a freshman last year, 24 games, had a home run, 2 RBI, batted .238 on the season. Has a big chance to equal his RBI total if he just stays down on the ball. Count now even at 1-1. And this is sort of what we talked about. If Jimmy Tatum is part of the Tigers' plans in the bullpen, the idea of being able to get a lead big enough to where you can bring him in and get him some game time experience is going to go a long way into the plans that Trinity has later in the season. Because you'd like to throw a guy in a situation where he can afford to maybe not be on his best without really the fear of, hey, we're going to drop a game that we shouldn't have.
Right, and these it's hard in practices for the Tigers. I mean, they scrimmage every day, but guys who don't get regular playing time, they use those scrimmages as opportunities to impress, and it's certainly not easy to do. The impressions are made in games like this, and, you know, Coach Scannell, I don't think, is looking at this situation going, oh, you know what, it's okay if he allows 3 or 4 runs because we have such a big lead. Obviously he doesn't want that, but he's able to do that because should he allow 3 or 4 runs, Tigers can still win the game. But it's not okay, I think, for, you know, a player like Tatum to come in, you walk the first 2 guys. That's a terrible impression to give to your coach with a 7-run lead, because that almost just shows a level of not being ready for a situation like this. You're in the bullpen, you know, you're probably throwing strikes there. It doesn't change out here. Well, hopefully Binder will have enough room. Unfortunately, it gets out of play, but he's got good stuff, Tatum does. We've seen it now, him throwing. The curveball is excellent. He throws hard. I mean, it's a good, firm fastball. So the makings of being a good pitcher are all there, but reliability, that's proven by the players, and the coach can't do anything about that.
And every day is an opportunity, even for the guys who are out here starting. They could easily lose their job. You've got a guy out in left field right now, Vonderhaar, who has played his way into a starting lineup spot because he came in as an injury replacement. As that ball gets stuck in the chain link fence, the ever-annoying chain link fence here at Trinity. And Vonderhaar, like when Rafe Schmidt comes back, you put him back in the lineup because he's got the talent to be back in the lineup. Then you got to find a spot for Vonderhaar. And if that's as the DH, then you put him as the DH. And then you make somebody else play their way back into the lineup.
You know, I've always understood players who, first this 2-2, flinch from the home plate umpire, but not the call. You know, I've always understood players who, especially young players, don't get a lot of playing time. They need a few games before they finally find their way, they find their rhythm. Always been impressed by the players who don't get a lot of playing time, but you know they've worked hard in practice, and you know they take that so seriously because when they get their chance, they contribute from day one. Vonderhaar, I don't know his full backstory. You know, I've gotten to know a little bit about him throughout the course of this season, but to your point exactly, when Schmidt comes back, how can you leave Vonderhaar's bat out of the lineup? I mean, you just have to find a way to get him in because in the small sample size, he's proven to be a reliable hitter.
And Tatum comes back with a bases-loaded strikeout here for out number 1. And that's going to be a confidence builder for him.
Well, what a time to unload your best pitch. We talked about how good the curveball was, but that fastball, I don't know if it was a 2-seam or if it was a 4-seam with a little bit of tail, but that just painting over the outside corner, 3-2, bases loaded, nobody out. No way is Jordan swinging at that pitch, and he just has to shake his head going, where did that come from?
And then immediately right back here on Brendan McDonald, who's 0 for 3 on the day. Comes in with that fastball in the opposite corner. He can go left, he can go right. And maybe this is just Tatum, you know, bullpen session looked good. Come out onto the mound, you're under the lights. Swing and a miss of our 0-2. Under the lights, and you get a little caught up in what's going on. Now you're settling into the groove. Now you're just going back on muscle memory and just playing baseball. 2. Breaking ball just misses.
Boy, let's also acknowledge the fact that McDonald, the player, is an absolute unit up there. Looks like a young Andy Reid, that Philadelphia green and the stash to go with it.
Swing and a miss. 2 down here in the 9th inning for Tatum. Yeah, rough start there for McDonald here on day 1 of the Goals season. And a rough day for the 2-3-4 hitters. They've yet to record a hit. So bringing up Nicholas Perkins. Perkins 0 for 4 and 4 strikeouts. Ball 1 from Tatum.
Well, Perkins, he's got an aggressive look in his swing. It almost looks like a little bit of an uppercut. There's a little bit of hitch with those hands, and certainly his first strikeout, he was vulnerable to a pitch around the letters. It just takes him a little bit longer to get around to those pitches up in the zone. So
he gets a hold of this one, but he got under it just a touch, and he flies this one out to Meredith, who loses it in the lights but regains it, and that will do it. So Tatum, after loading the bases here in the 9th, able to fight back, get a couple of strikeouts and a flyout to end it. And game 1 of this series goes the way of the Tigers. They improved to 5-1 here in 2019. Endicott's season opener, not the way they wanted it to go, but they're back at it again, 2 o'clock tomorrow. And Chris, your thoughts just generally on today's performance from Trinity?
Well, I didn't think it was a perfect performance, but that's more of a testament to how good this Tiger team is. They weren't at their best, and they win by 7 runs. It just makes you wonder, what if? And we're still in the early part of the season. I think some of these starters, they're trying to figure out a little bit more, as we've got some chirping, it looks like, between these two sides, but that all seems to separate. I just think that right now we're still in the stages of guys trying to figure out their role, guys trying to get into that rhythm of the season. You know, we saw a nice performance from Goodrich, who had struggled a little bit offensively. If we can get MJ Metz to kind of get things going in a similar direction, I'm telling you right now, this isn't just a top 5 team in the country. I think this is arguably the best team in the country. And not a perfect performance. Look out when you start seeing perfect performances, because it is going to be just a spectacle to watch.
Well, not perfect, but pretty good from Corey Cater. He went 3 1/3, gave up 1 hit, had 4 strikeouts. Tigers had 12 strikeouts as a collective unit today. And Corey Cater's going to walk away with the victory. Also, Mason Meredith, 3 for 4, 2 RBI, and can't forget about Michael Goodrich. He comes out of his shell, 2 for 3, a 2-run homer, and he picked up another RBI as well. And that'll do it for us here today here on the Tiger Network. Tigers win once again. They are now 5-1. Endicott will be looking for their first win tomorrow. We're on the air shortly before 2 o'clock Central. Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night.